Chapter 1969. In the kitchen of the sect of all times. Dong, dong, dong. Ma Yongning waved his kitchen knife and cut the vegetables on the chopping board into rows. Judging from his technique, he was obviously more skilled. 1 He and 2 He were running back and forth with the cut vegetables. Although they were busy, there was always a bright smile on their faces. Sizzle. The pot was hot and the oil was added. Phew. The sous chef Qian Songbao held the pot with his left hand and set the fire with his right hand. He was focused on cooking and was also very happy. Phew. Lu Wanshi on the other stove leaned her hands on the big pot, closed her eyes, and released the fire. She was doing the most professional blind stir-frying. The dining hall was very busy. What was going on? Needless to say, there must be a grand celebration banquet. There were 3 celebrations. First, the celestial demonic emperor's army was wiped out. Second, the patriarch's parents were reunited. Third, Xiao Ziji was resurrected on the spot. Any one of them was a joyous occasion. Therefore, Jun Changxiao decided to hold the grandest celebration banquet and invited all the big shots in the eternal world to attend. Swish. Swish. In the huge martial arts practice field of the main peak, 8 tables were arranged. The members of the dining hall came one after another with delicious dishes and intoxicating drinks. Phew. Jian Guishu and the others took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Delicious, so delicious." After 2 hours of preparation, all the wine and dishes were ready. Sit down. Yuan Gongzi said. All the big shots in the sect of all times and all the big shots in the cities sat down and put their hands on the full wine glasses. Swish. Jun Changxiao picked up the wine, raised it over his head, and said seriously, "This glass of wine is for the dead." When the celestial demonic emperor's army attacked the eternal world, many warriors of various clans died to strengthen the formation. He naturally would not forget and would keep it in mind. Iron Bone Mountain. A place with feng shui. It had been transformed into a hero's mound by Li Qingyang. All the dead creatures would be buried here and be worshipped by the world. Sun. After the hero's mound was built, Zhang San came to observe and sighed with emotion. The place you chose is a place with excellent feng shui. It is also shrouded in the strong feng shui of the sect of all times. The dead who are buried here will definitely be blessed with feng shui after reincarnation and have extraordinary achievements. I can't resurrect the creatures who died for the eternal world like I can resurrect Sinner Ji. Jun Changxiao bowed deeply to the row of tombstones in front of him and said, "We can only do our best to fight for a good afterlife for them. War. There would be sacrifices in the end. Xiao Ziji could use the Lingyan pavilion to bring the dead back to life, but those who died in battle did not have this privilege. They could only be buried in a place with good feng shui and arranged for a future generation with a bright future. This could be considered a perfect ending." Schwa. Everyone in the sect of all times and all the martial artists of the various races stood up and raised their wine cups, downing the contents in one gulp. This cup of wine was a toast to the deceased. Respect their dedication, respect their sacrifice. Jun Changxiao poured another cup of wine, raised it, and looked out of the eternal world. He said, "The second cup of wine is a toast to all of you here and to all the people in the world. The creatures who died needed to be remembered, and the living creatures needed to be remembered even more, because they had also sacrificed and were even fearless in the face of death." Gulp. Jun Changxiao drank the wine. At that moment, he was very serious, like a patriarch. The martial artists of various races and cities downed the wine in their cups, and then quickly filled them up. They raised their cups, looked at Jun Changxiao, and said in unison, "This cup of wine is a toast to Jun Patriarch. To the sect of all times." The biggest contributor to the safety of the eternal world in the crisis was Jun Changxiao and his sect. Therefore, The gratitude of the creatures living here to them could not be described in words. Everything was in the wine. Come. Cheers. After the toast, the celebration banquet officially began. The slightly sad atmosphere was quickly replaced by cheerfulness. Bang! Yi Xingqian sat down, put 2 jars of drunken dream on the table, and said coldly, "Let's drink until we're drunk." Xiao Ziji's expression became interesting. After a while, he picked up the 2 jars and said happily, "Okay. Can I join in?" Su Xiaoma came to join in the fun, but he was not particular and only brought 1 jar. "Can you?" Yi Xingqian questioned. Su Xiaoma pretended to be arrogant and said, "I can take you down. Come." The 3 of them slapped off the clay seal of the wine jar at the same time, and then raised it to drink. Oh! Lu Wancher, who was sitting next to them, saw this and pouted. "Don't just drink, eat something." Plop! After drinking a jar of drunken dream, Su Xiaoma fell under the table. He hugged the empty jar and said with the smell of alcohol, I can still drink. I'm not drunk." Yi Xingqian and Xiao Ziji had yet to decide a winner. The 2 of them put their legs on the chair and picked up another jar of wine to drink. On the surface, the 2 of them were drinking wine. On a deeper level, the 2 of them were drinking the feelings of the same sect. As for why Yi Xingqian punched Xiao Ziji after seeing him revive, there was no need to explain. Those who understood understood, those who did not understand would not understand. The banquet lasted until midnight. Many people drank until they were dead drunk, swaying left and right. Yi Xingqian and Xiao Ziji also drank too much. Under the influence of alcohol, they jumped and jumped around the bonfire like dancing gorillas. 4 o'clock. The banquet ended. Many martial artists and disciples had to be carried back. Overall, they ate well and had a good time. However, as the main character of the celebration, Gongsun Ruoli sat alone on the Tower of Stone Statue City after the banquet ended, staring blankly at the sky. She tried hard to cover up her son killing his mother, so she could only bear all the pain alone. "Father." At this time, Jun Changshao came from behind and said, "You seem a little unhappy." "No." Gongsun Ruoli hurriedly wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and forced a smile. "I'm very happy. I feel quite guilty." Jun Changshao said, "He abused mother for so long. That's what happens when he abandons his wife and son." Gongsun Ruoli comforted him. "My son, you don't have to blame yourself. Father, the eternal world is yours. We Stone Statue clan do as the Romans do. Call me mother from now on." Gongsun Ruoli interrupted. Jun Changshao had no objection. No matter what he called her, she was still his family. This would not change. So he said affectionately, "Okay, mother. Call me mother." "Mother." Gongsun Ruoli put one hand on Jun Changshao's face and said affectionately, "Good boy, I only have one wish. No matter what happens, you have to live well." Feeling the warmth from her palm, the pain in her heart lessened a lot. Son was the only one. It was really wonderful to have the love of family. However, thinking that the stone statue bloodline was fused and that he was lying to her, Jun Changshao felt more and more guilty. "There's no other way." The system said helplessly, "The host didn't mean any harm." "Mother." Jun Changshao smiled brightly and said, "I will live well and fulfill my filial piety in front of you. I will give you a carefree and comfortable life." Gongsun Ruoli rolled her eyes at him and said, "I'm not so old that I need to retire." "My mistake." Jun Changshao said hurriedly. Okay. Gongsun Ruoli waved her hand and said meaningfully, "Don't let your daughter-in-law wait too long. Go back and rest." Jun Changshao's face suddenly turned red. Damn! This guy's face turned red. Miracle. Chapter 1970. In the study room. Jun Changshao fell into deep thought after returning from the stone statue city. Xiao Ziji's resurrection gave him a bold idea. If he let the disciples in the Lingyan pavilion die and then resurrect them, would he be able to break through to the divine realm? You're dreaming. The system mocked him mercilessly. How could he use this kind of low-level bug to increase his disciple level? Moreover, there were conditions for resurrection. For example, he needed to combine the contribution points of others. As a matter of fact, all the disciples in the Lingyan pavilion, no matter how many there were before, would be cleared after resurrecting Xiao Ziji. It's not a big problem. Jun Changshao said, I can let them continue to accumulate. This resurrection function may only be used once in a lifetime. Don't you think it's a loss to use it just to break through to the divine realm? The system was speechless. Jun Changshao fell into silence. Indeed. Wasting resurrection times in order to break through to the divine realm was not worth it. Also, the system said again, Xiao Ziji sacrificed himself and broke through to the divine realm after being resurrected. Letting the other disciples die in an abnormal way may not be in line with their own opportunities. I'm afraid they will still be stuck in the same place. Makes sense. Jun Changshao dispelled the idea. Resurrection was too precious and could not be wasted. Then, Jun Changshao leaned on the chair and murmured, I have to plan for the remaining slots. Since the Lingyan pavilion had a resurrection function, he naturally had to let the other disciples move in as soon as possible. 24 slots. Currently, there were only 9 disciples. They were Lu Qianqian, Yi Xingchen, Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaomua, Lu Wanshi, He Wudi, Li Fei, and Shengguan Xinyao. Who should I give it to? Jun Changshao fell into deep thought. There were too many outstanding disciples in the sect. The remaining 15 slots were obviously not enough. In the beginning, it could be measured based on contribution points. But now, any disciple could meet the requirements, so he had to consider more aspects. Tian Qi, Long Xiang, Long Outyin. The 3 of them can stay. Jun Changshao made up his mind and matched his name to the corresponding scroll. Buzz. Buzz. In an instant, images continuously appeared on the 3 blank scrolls. Finally, each of them outlined a lifelike disciple in an absolutely mighty and majestic posture. Tian Qi was indispensable. They were the first batch to enter the sect. Although her recent appearances might not be as good as Jing Ji's, she was still a senior disciple. She had witnessed the growth of the sect, and her own strength was not inferior to Su Xiaomua, Li Fei, and the others. So, she definitely had a place in the sect. Long Xiang. He was one of the best among the second batch of disciples, so he deserved to be admitted. As for Long Outyin, he was once Jun Changshao's contracted beast. Now that he had become Jun Changshao's disciple, it was reasonable for him to stay. After the portrait was finished, the characters Loyalty, Spear, and Dragon were printed on it. Zhong Yi. Jun Changshao said, he also deserves a place. This disciple did not enter the sect too early, but every time there was a warlike battle, he would always lead the members of the war cavalry hall to charge at the front and contribute greatly to the sect. Buzz. Zhong Yi's portrait was sketched out. It was a classic leaping horse raising blade, as if it was shouting the will to break through the enemy lines. The special effect given was also general. Zhou Hong. Jun Changshao thought for a moment, and said, how can I leave him out? Buzz Buzz, very quickly, a disciple standing in the inner courtyard's martial arts practice field with a sword in his hand gradually outlined. The special effect given was sword. At this point, among the disciples, there were a total of 4 weapons. They were Xiao Ziji's shield, He Wudi's door, Long Xiang's spear, and Zhou Hong's sword. Fuck. The system roared, can a door be considered a weapon? And that girl Mengying. Swish. On the 15th scroll, Yao Menjing was gradually sketched out. She sat on a throne made of skeletons, like a high and mighty female demon king. Even the atmosphere was abnormally gloomy, so the special effect given was demon. We already have demon, how can we leave out Buddha? Jun Changshao waved his hand and chose Du Nan on the 16th scroll. That guy's portrait was a bit interesting. He was holding a broom and sweeping the fallen leaves and dust in the courtyard, very much like the eminent monk in the Sutra Pavilion. As for the special effect, it also corresponded to Buddha. After all, the sect was the only Buddhist cultivator. Even Go Fugue, who swept the floor, could enter the Lingyan Pavilion. Wouldn't Jingji, who cleaned the latrines, also have a chance? After all, as the chief mecha master of the sect of all times, he could be considered to have a skill. What a pity. Jun Changshao did not consider it. Saber cultivator Ma Yongning is qualified to enter, the system said. Not bad. Jun Changshao agreed and immediately chose this uncle who was always chopping vegetables in the kitchen and could still comprehend a higher level of saber intent. He also received the special effect of saber. Another weapon category was added. From this, it could be seen that those who entered the Lingyan Pavilion did not enter according to the time they entered, but according to their own characteristics. In that case, Chief Mecha Master Jing Ji should enter. Unfortunately, Jun Changshao still did not consider this disciple. That was very sad. There are still 7 left. Go Sheng's brain was about to explode. He said, who should I let in? Actually, there were many outstanding disciples, such as number 2 Tankyang Yuhua, Song Xianzhou, and even Li Tian. However, because there were too many outstanding disciples, it was difficult for him to make a decision in a short time. Fortunately, the Lingyan Pavilion was only limited to disciples. If the higher-ups were also qualified, a mere 24 places would make Gosheng very conflicted. I think we can give it to the female disciples. The system suggested, currently, among the 17 disciples who have entered, only Shengguan Xinyao, Lu Wanshi, and Yao Menjing have a little more yang than yin. Jun Changshao said, how many female disciples with names can we find? Ling Yuanxue and Mu Honglian. What else? The system was silent. That was it. It really could not remember. Oh right, there's also Sun Bukong. Jun Changshao finally thought of a disciple who was proficient in medicine. Thus, he decisively accepted him into the Lingyan Pavilion. The special effect of the words was naturally medicine. Let's leave 6 empty spots for the disciples who perform well in the future. This time, Jun Changshao accepted a total of 9 people. There were strong and experienced disciples, and also disciples with special skills. There was no overlap at all. It felt like Jiang Taigong had become a god at the apotheosis altar. After the disciples were sketched out one by one, they all seemed to have realized something. Corresponding words appeared on the back of their hands one after another. If Night Emperor knew, he would definitely be depressed. The 19 disciples only had their own words on their foreheads. Compared to them, it was really out of place. What's going on? Tian Qi, who was playing football with his fellow disciples, suddenly stopped. Looking at the word loyalty flashing on the back of his hand, he was stunned. Su Xiaomua and Li Fei saw it. As experienced people, they walked up and said, "Congratulations, junior brother." Long Xiang and the others were also confused at first. However, after learning from their senior brother that this was the patriarch's recognition and appreciation of them, they all swore in their hearts, for the patriarch, for the sect, we will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Chapter 1971. Most of the disciples stayed in the Lingyan Pavilion, so Jun Changshao had one less thing on his mind for the time being. Next, it was time to think about how to deal with the celestial demonic emperor. After this battle, Jun Changshao said with certainty, that guy must have suffered a great loss. It would be better if we could find his hiding place. Don't get carried away. The system said, he might have a killer move. Jun Changshao agreed. He thought that destroying the celestial demonic emperor's 8th division heavenly dragon was equivalent to getting rid of his right-hand man. But now there was a powerful red-haired man. If it were not for the SSS-level heroic soul and Yi Xingqian's rampage, the eternal world would have been destroyed. Damn it! He clenched his fists and said angrily in his heart, when can I go further and be qualified to compete with these top divine mystery realm experts? Complete the main mission, the system said, maybe you can level up. Jun Changshao said, is there no other way? No. The system said truthfully. Without the ability to cheat, it was basically impossible to rely on oneself to comprehend a higher level. If I can get the evil skill manual left by the heaven-devouring evil lord, will I have a chance to see the mystery of eternal life? Jun Changshao was lost in thought. He still remembered what Jian Guishu told him. I advise the host not to have such thoughts, the system said. Why? Since it is an evil skill manual, it must be full of evil. If the host cultivates it, he will go mad and become a demon who will harm the world. Jun Changshao was silent. The system said, the host should take the right path. There is no shortcut. Jun Changshao was also very annoyed. The main mission had not been completed, and the epic mission had not appeared. If he relied on time to comprehend, who knew how long he would have to wait? There was a point. Go Sheng wanted to break through faster, not because he was obsessed with strength, but because he wanted to get rid of the celestial demonic emperor as soon as possible in exchange for peace. If he went further, he would have completely fallen out with the villain. If the villain sent more powerful forces to kill him, the sect of all times would be in danger. AI. Jun Changshao sighed and took out the 7 incomplete scrolls. This secret manual created by a martial arts legend was also an opportunity for him to enter a higher level. However, the problem was that after studying it for so long, he still had no clue. It was even more mysterious than the wordless heavenly book. Ah! After studying for most of the night, Jun Changshao hugged his head and roared, what kind of secret is it hiding? In a dark environment. The atmosphere was cold. The celestial demonic emperor's figure gradually appeared. As he raised his hand, several wisps of ghostly fire appeared. The surroundings gradually became clearer, and he realized that this was a relatively sealed area. There was a throne in front of him, and a skeleton was sitting on it. The size of the skeleton was not small. It must have been tall and burly when it was alive. It might have even surpassed the category of human. Every bone had an irregular crack. From this, it could be deduced that he must have been severely injured when he was alive. The celestial demonic emperor stopped and looked at the scarred skeleton. He said in a low voice, when I comprehend the great art of swallowing sky and transforming demon that you left behind, I will inherit the will to rule the universe. The great technique of devouring heaven and transforming demon that he left behind. Could it be, this skeleton was the heaven-devouring evil lord that was killed by the 7 profound sage? However, the celestial demonic emperor stepped forward and said, since I want to inherit the will, I must inherit everything. So, he placed his hand on the shoulder and said, I will use your remains to give me a hand. Pa! The originally fragile skeleton shattered after bearing a little force, turning into dust and falling on the throne. As expected. The celestial demonic emperor was delighted. In fact, he had been thinking about this skeleton for a long time. However, no matter how strong he was, he could not hurt it at all. Until he had a little understanding of the great art of swallowing sky and transforming demon. To be exact. The celestial demonic emperor had comprehended the mental cultivation method to a certain level. It was equivalent to obtaining a key and successfully opening a door. Sorry. He turned his head and then took a deep breath. The ashes flew into his 2 nostrils. After a while, the ashes of the heaven-devouring evil lord were all sucked into the celestial demonic emperor's body. This operation made one's scalp tingle. Whoosh! When the ashes merged with the blood vessels and meridians in his body, the celestial demonic emperor suddenly burst out a majestic demonic chi. The shadow of the ghost fire on the wall began to sway, slowly becoming ferocious and huge. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Strange laughter resounded in the dark environment. I understand one more thing. The mental cultivation method is just around the corner. In the sect of all times, the disciples were practicing as usual. The old man of Taishan led the members to repair the barrier protection formation that had been bombarded before. After the war, the eternal world entered a relatively stable stage. The calmer it is, the more likely it is that a storm is coming. Jun Changshao often thought about the future. It was a little too much to worry about. This could be considered one of his strengths. In most cases, he would prepare for a rainy day. However, no matter how prepared he was in advance, he was still vulnerable in the face of absolute power. Why do you have to make things difficult for yourself? Rose of Flowers saw that her husband had been worried recently, so she comforted him. Don't you humans often say that there will be a way when the car arrives at the mountain, and the boat will cross the bridge when it arrives? Sigh. Jun Changshao said, I can't eat or sleep in peace if the heavenly devil emperor is not eliminated. Husband, you destroyed his army and killed the powerful red-haired man, which can be considered as a heavy blow. He shouldn't come to trouble us in the short term. Rose of Flowers analyzed. That makes sense. Hearing this, Jun Changshao felt a lot more relieved. Are you hungry? I'll make fried rice for you. I'm not hungry. Jun Changshao said hurriedly. It could be seen that this woman's dark cuisine had a deep psychological shadow. Father-in-law and mother-in-law have reunited. Husband, don't you want to take me to see them? Rose of Flowers said very softly and bitterly, after all, I'm your daughter-in-law. This, Jun Changshao said, okay then. Taking this daughter-in-law to see his parents should make them very happy. Stone Statue City, Main Hall. The old actor Zhang San sat in a chair and looked at Rose of Flowers. He praised, good. Very good. Gongsun Ruoli also had a loving smile on her face. She was very satisfied with this daughter-in-law, especially her ability to help her son deal with the sect's affairs. However, son, Gongsun Ruoli said seriously, you and Rose have been married for many years. You must work hard. After all, you humans often say that there are 3 ways to be unfilial, and having no children is the worst. Rose of Flowers suddenly blushed. Jun Changshao was also very embarrassed, but gave his mother a reason. Rose and I are too high in realm, and are limited by the heavenly law. It is difficult to have children. Yes. Zhang San agreed, the higher the realm, the higher the restrictions. Difficulties do not mean that there is no chance. The 2 of you are too engrossed in managing the sect. If you take more time out and work harder in that aspect, the chances of success will naturally be greatly increased. Some words did not seem abrupt when spoken by his mother. Mother. Jun Changshao said, son knows, I'll go back first. Go. Before watching the 2 leave, Gongsun Ruoli specially reminded, your father and I are waiting to hold our grandchildren. Jun Changshao left even faster. On the way, Rose of Flowers looked at him and asked shyly, husband, what do you think? What do you mean what do I think? Take time out and work harder in that aspect. Jun Changshao heard this and almost stumbled. He shouted, I don't think. I don't. Night. Jun Changshao sat in the study and took out the tattered scrolls again. When he had time, he would study it and it became a habit. However, when he placed the 7 scrolls neatly on the table, a bright light suddenly appeared on the cover. This kind of thing had never happened before. Jun Changshao exclaimed, "What's going on?" Chapter 1972. During this time, Jun Changshao took out the remaining scrolls to study whenever he had time. Although he had no clue, he persevered. Today, he took them out again. The result was that the 7 scrolls suddenly flashed with bright light. It was as if the 7 dragon balls were activated and the dragon god was about to be summoned. "Make a wish." The system said, "Make a wish quickly." Jun Changshao put his hands together, closed his eyes, and said sincerely in his heart, "May the world be peaceful, may the world be peaceful." 2 clowns. Jokes aside, Go Sheng was very happy. The 7 scrolls had been obtained for a long time. Today, they suddenly appeared. Could it be that they were moved by his tireless research and finally took the initiative to disclose the secret to the public? Sincerity could move metal and stone. The ancients did not lie. What's going on? A bright light suddenly appeared in the study, and soon the whole sect was alarmed. The seniors and disciples all looked over, and their eyes were filled with astonishment. Whoosh! At this time, ripples visible to the naked eye spread out and gradually filled the sky above the sect. The majestic aura suddenly made everyone feel awe. Of course, Wudi was the most shocked. He not only felt the majesty from the aura, but also a trace of familiarity. Whoosh! At this time, 7 bright lights rushed out of the study, into the sky, out of the eternal world, as if they were going to rush out of the universe. Whoosh! After a while, at the top of the universe, the colorful clouds began to gather and gradually condensed into a vortex. The secret of eternal life. Jun Changshao heard an extremely old voice, "It's all in it." Damn! What did it mean? After a short moment of thinking, Jun Changshao immediately realized that the vortex formed in the universe, was it the secret of eternal life left by 7 profound holy master? Or, these 7 scrolls were equivalent to keys. With his sincerity, he had finally opened the door to the mystery of immortality. Happiness came too suddenly, and Jun Changshao was ecstatic. What was he waiting for? Dog! Dog! Come on, damn dog! Bang! Jun Changshao flew up, broke the roof, and flew out of the eternal world, and flew up in the direction of the colorful light. Wudi followed. That aura was too familiar, and it made his blood boil. Go! Gu Zhaoxi said, "Let's go take a look too." In an instant, the higher-ups and disciples of the sect of all times flew out of the eternal world. Jian Guishu and the others followed. The 7-colored vortex that existed at the peak of the universe seemed to contain some kind of magical power that made them yearn for it endlessly and worship it with their blood. Swish! After a while, Jun Changshao flew to the end and his body merged into it. He went in. Wudi and the other senior disciples who had followed behind were turned outside the door. No matter how hard they tried, it was useless. AI. Jian Guishu shook his head and said, "We are not fated. Will the patriarch be in danger?" Li Qingyang asked worriedly. As expected of the second disciple, he did not forget to care about Go Sheng at this time. Wudi said, "There shouldn't be any danger, or..." He paused and said with a serious expression, "There's a great opportunity." How old? Su Xiaoma asked. It may be related to eternal life. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed and secretly prayed that the patriarch could obtain the opportunity of eternal life. Huh! Suddenly, Su Xiaoma pointed into the distance and said in surprise, "What's that?" Everyone turned their heads and found that at the end of the dark universe, they could vaguely see another vortex. Although it was not so fancy, it was almost the same size as the vortex in front of them. It's very far. Jian Guishu frowned. The strange vortex seemed to be at the end of their vision, but it must be separated by several galaxies. To be exact. Such a phenomenon could be seen anywhere. That's right. The seven-colored whirlpool that Jun Changshao had entered could still be seen clearly from the opposite end of the whirlpool. It gave people the feeling that it was close at hand. He Wudi said in surprise, "There's more than one opportunity. Let's not think about this first." Jian Guishu said with an extremely serious expression, "When the phenomenon rises, it will attract countless experts. We have to protect the surroundings to prevent outsiders from disturbing Jun Patriarch's search for opportunities." "That's right." Gu Tianqing agreed and said, "Hurry up and be on guard." Back to the time when Jun Changshao took out the remnant scroll and found the seven-colored light emerging. After absorbing the ashes, the Sky Devil Emperor, who was fusing with his body, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes flickered with a demonic luster, penetrating the secret room, penetrating the darkness, as if to penetrate the universe, and then converging at the end of the sky. This situation was very similar to the formation process of the seven-colored vortex. Could it be, the Sky Devil Emperor said excitedly, the secret of eternal life? Swoosh! He eagerly flew up and merged into the eerie vortex. The Sky Devil Emperor and his subordinates had originally followed, but they were rejected. The situation was exactly the same as Hiwudi and the others. From this, it could be seen. Whether it was the seven-colored vortex or the eerie vortex, only the summoned Jun Changshao and the Sky Devil Emperor could enter. The others were not qualified at all. Gu Tianqing's judgment was right. The two vortexes appeared from different directions. After seeing it, the experts from various galaxies and planes flew over without hesitation. Natural phenomenon, the birth of a supreme treasure. This was an ironclad rule in fantasy novels. Not to mention that the entire upper universe could clearly see it no matter where it was. Anyone with a brain could guess that the supreme treasure that was about to be born must be of a very high level. Go. Must go. The appearance of the two phenomena made the upper universe completely boil. However, when some of the experts flew toward the seven-colored vortex and were about to reach it, they saw that the area had been surrounded by countless warships. Crack! Crack! The Diablo warships were arranged in an orderly manner. They lifted the super-heavy firearms, pulled the safety bolts, and loaded the bullets. Warships, mechas. They formed the first line of defense. 1,000,000 Devil Army and 1,000,000 Avengers stood behind, wearing excellent equipment and weapons, forming the second line of defense. And the third line of defense. It was made up of the upper echelons and disciples of the Sect of all times. From afar, such a magnificent momentum and such a precise layout could really be described as an iron wall. It was no exaggeration to say that even a fly could not fly in. Even if one was lucky enough to sneak in, they would inevitably be blasted out. Everyone. Yuan Gongzi stood in the cockpit of the Eternal Battleship and shouted through the loudspeaker, "This is the star area under the control of the Eternal World. Without permission, no one is allowed to enter. Otherwise no mercy." The last three words were very domineering. In order to let the Patriarch obtain the opportunity smoothly, they had to be domineering at this time. All the martial artists stopped, and their expressions changed again and again. It was undeniable that the seven-colored vortex was full of temptation. However, the Sect of all times in front of them was not simple. It was a pity that there was no live broadcast of the invasion of the Sky Demonic Emperor's army. Otherwise, they would not hesitate at this moment and would immediately dispel any thoughts of greed. Unlike the seven-colored vortex, which was heavily guarded by the Sect of all times, the eerie vortex was empty, so the martial artists flying toward it quickly approached. Kill them all. The Sky Demonic Emperor's subordinates would not persuade them kindly. Since they dared to come, they must go to hell. Thus, a fierce battle began. As the saying goes, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Although the Sky Demonic Emperor's army was wiped out, there were still some trusted subordinates, and their strength was not bad. When they killed them, they were absolutely cruel and merciless. After a while, corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. The cruel means intimidated all the martial artists, making them calm down and watch from afar, not daring to rashly take half a step forward. Although many people gathered at the two special vortexes, they could only watch and imagine what was inside. Or perhaps there was a heaven-defying opportunity. In the seven-colored environment, the light was dazzling and gorgeous. Jun Changshao, who flew in from outside, stood in a daze and said, "What is this place?" Buzz. At this moment, the flowing clouds under his feet gradually dispersed, revealing a road paved with some special stone slabs, and it extended infinitely forward. Jun Changshao subconsciously looked along the road and soon found a huge stone door at the end of the slowly dispersing clouds. This scene. He had seen it before. That's right. It was extremely similar to the huge door that appeared in the bronze cauldron. In other words, this might be the road to immortality that the martial artists of the upper universe were pursuing. Ta! Jun Changshao started to move forward, his heart was excited. Along the way, he did not encounter any danger, until he stopped in front of the stone door. Whoosh! A vast aura hit him in the face, making Jun Changshao even more excited, because he felt the purer power of the immortal sound. The door in the bronze cauldron, only the immortal sound entered his ears and could not be opened, then what about this door? Thinking of this, Jun Changshao raised his right hand and placed it on the cold door. Buzz! The moment he touched it, a dense pattern appeared on the surface of the stone door, like some kind of intricate lock mechanism, and his hand was like a key, successfully connecting the links and reaching the conditions to unlock the door. Creak! Suddenly, a gap appeared, and the door moved. Jun Changshao saw this and was wild with joy. The stone door in the bronze cauldron could only be opened by sitting cross-legged next to it, and now it could be opened successfully in the environment of the remnant scroll, which meant that he might really be able to enter the land of immortality. But, if I go in, what about them? Jun Changshao had not reached the realm of no worries, and he still cared about his sect, his family, and the creatures in the eternal world. If I lose everything in exchange for immortality in the future, it's meaningless to me. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and stood still. Are you sure? Don't you want to go in? Suddenly, a vicissitude voice sounded in his ears, which made Jun Changshao's face change, and he said in surprise, "Who is it?" "I'm an old man. 7 profound sage." Whoosh! As the word sage fell, the stone door completely opened. First, there was a flash of bright light, and then a figure gradually condensed. Although the face could not be seen clearly, it emitted a special aura, which could be accurately described with a word: terrifying. Jun Changshao seemed to be struck by lightning, standing still in place, dumbfounded. This figure, was it a martial arts legend? Jun Changshao had imagined countless times that one day he would meet 7 profound sage, and he would definitely hug his leg and cry, "Senior, do you need a pendant?" The kind that can act cute and coquettish. Now, however, it came too suddenly, and he was completely unprepared. None of the martial artists standing in front of this door can resist the temptation of immortality, the figure said slowly. You're the first to choose to give up. In that case, do you want to give me a reward? After a brief shock, Jun Changshao returned to his despicable self. What reward do you want? Could it be that the 7 fragments really represented the Dragon Balls, and after collecting them, he could summon 7 profound sage to fulfill his wish? Calm down. Don't choose underpants. Jun Changshao hurriedly held his chin, and after careful consideration, he said, I'm not greedy. I only hope to have the strongest power in the upper universe and bring a sect, no, bring a plane into the land of immortality. The figure said, go to sleep. It can be realized in your dreams. Jun Changshao said, take a step back and let me have the strongest power in the upper universe. I can't fulfill this wish. Go Sheng was speechless. Then what can you do, senior? Bring you into the land of immortality. Myself? That's right. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I refuse. This is the most supreme opportunity in the world. You have to consider it carefully. The figure's words seemed to contain some kind of magical power, and it kept calling out to him from the bottom of his heart. Jun Changxiao's originally firm mind gradually wavered. Then, he took a step forward with difficulty and walked toward the shining door. 1 step. 2 steps. Ta! Just as he was about to touch the light and enter, Jun Changxiao stopped with a ferocious expression and shouted, I refuse. Whoosh whoosh. The thought that existed in his sea of consciousness dissipated. Jun Changxiao hurriedly retreated out of the stone door as if relieved of a heavy burden. He secretly rejoiced. Luckily, I resisted the temptation. Young man. The figure said, your willpower is very strong. Thank you. If you miss this opportunity, you can only rely on yourself to enter the land of immortality. Jun Changxiao was silent. If fate wills it, we will meet again. After the figure finished speaking, his body gradually faded and then disappeared without a trace. The huge stone door in front of him closed first, and dense cracks appeared on its surface. Finally, it collapsed into pieces all over the sky. Opportunity. He missed it just like that. To be honest, Jun Changxiao was more or less distressed. But when he thought of his sect and his close friends, the regret faded a lot. Puff. At this moment, the sound of vomiting blood was heard. Jun Changxiao came back to his senses and looked at the place where the stone door disappeared. He found that there was a dark figure standing on the opposite side, so he exclaimed, Celestial Devil Emperor. That's right. It was Celestial Devil Emperor who came in from another vortex. His trembling hands seemed to be very angry. At last, he roared, why the hell did you refuse? Jun Changxiao turned into a dumbfounded cartoon. Time went back. Jun Changxiao walked in from the colorful vortex. Celestial Devil Emperor walked in from the gloomy vortex. One left, one right. The two stopped at the stone door at the same time. If they stuck their heads out, they should be able to find each other. Whoosh! Whoosh! Celestial Devil Emperor stopped in front of the stone door. After feeling the special rhythm, his breathing gradually became rapid. He even had a premonition that he was about to enter the land of eternal life. Sure enough. He touched the stone door with his hand and slowly opened it. A ghost-like figure appeared and asked, Are you willing to enter the land of eternal life? Yes. Celestial Devil Emperor didn't even think about it. His purpose of harming the upper universe was to establish a new era and pry into the mystery of eternal life as a creator. So now that there was a shortcut in front of him, he would definitely agree without hesitation. Wait for the other person to make a choice. If your answer is the same, you can be sent to the land of eternal life. The other person? Celestial Devil Emperor was surprised. Someone else came in. Humph. Did he still have to choose? Of course he agreed. Celestial Devil Emperor was extremely confident that the other person had made the same choice as him. After all, entering the land of eternal life was the dream of the upper universe warriors. Get into position. Waiting to enter the land of eternal life. What a pity. He couldn't unify the upper universe and establish a new era, nor could he destroy the sect of all times with his own hands. In the face of a higher realm, this was nothing. Celestial Devil Emperor comforted himself while waiting quietly. In the end, when he was pushed out, when the stone door closed and shattered. The moment the door shattered, his heart also shattered. In the end, he couldn't bear the blow and spat out blood. When he saw Jun Changxiao standing opposite him, he immediately realized that this guy must have chosen to refuse. Absolute. Lazy naming, 2 in 1. Chapter 1973. He thought that he would definitely enter the land of eternal life, but the door suddenly collapsed into nothingness. This meant that the person who came in with him had chosen to refuse. To be honest, the celestial demonic emperor's mind was completely blown. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and this idiot actually refused it. The most infuriating thing was that he still had a blank look on his face, as if he didn't realize what a stupid thing he had done. Jun Changshao frowned when he saw the celestial demonic emperor's body trembling and steaming. Then, he turned around and fled. Fuck. Why is he here? Jun Changshao. The celestial demonic emperor's furious voice resounded in the surroundings. I'm going to tear you into pieces. He could accept the destruction of his army. He could accept the death of his subordinates. But now, the opportunity to enter the land of eternal life had been taken away by that guy. This was really unbearable. Die. He must die. New and old grudges filled the celestial demonic emperor's mind, and a terrifying evil force gathered in his hands. Feeling the gradually rising murderous intent behind him, Jun Changshao, who was fleeing, only wished that he had 2 more legs. He howled, "How do I get out? Yes. How do I get out?" Based on the current situation, there seemed to be no exit to the outside world. What are you afraid of? The system said, fight him. Jun Changshao roared, I'm not ready to fight to the death with the final boss. He took out the remnant scroll to study as usual, entered the special space in a daze, and ran into the celestial demonic emperor face to face. This was too sudden. Die, whoosh whoosh. At this moment, the celestial demonic emperor had already approached with a few big steps, and his right hand carried a terrifying force. This battle, this momentum, shocked Jun Changshao so much that cold sweat broke out on his back. The gap between them was vividly reflected. Go Sheng, who didn't have any cheats, was really like a pitiful dog's tail grass in front of the celestial demonic emperor. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. The explosive force gradually approached, and despair gradually appeared on Jun Changshao's face. Whoosh, there was no time to think, and the celestial demonic emperor's right hand went straight through his back. Whoosh! Finish scattering flowers. Jun Changshao's expression changed drastically. Just as he was about to scream, he realized that not only did the guy's hand pass through his body had also passed through it. Thus, he stopped in his tracks with a "ga" sound. The celestial devil emperor also stopped. He turned around to look at Jun Changshao in astonishment, only to find that his opponent's body was distorted and illusory. Angrily, he shouted, "Illusory shadow? What's the situation?" Jun Changshao was also dumbfounded. He raised his hand to slap his own face, but his palm passed right through his face. Understood. Although he had an independent mind, his body was not real. Shwa. The celestial devil emperor also tried it on his own face, but the result was that he had also gone through the mold. Alright then. Both of them were illusory figures. Ha ha ha. Jun Changshao laughed with his hands on his hips, come, I'll stand here and let you hit me. Since it was an illusion and he couldn't hit it, what was there to be afraid of? The celestial devil emperor rushed over angrily and threw out a left hook and a right hook, but all of them passed through Jun Changshao's body. Even so, he still did not stop. Just like that, he hit the air for more than half an hour. I'll talk. Jun Changshao stood in place, his body twisting again and again, returning to his original state time and time again, and said, "Aren't you tired?" After confirming that he couldn't hurt this guy, the celestial devil emperor could only suppress his anger and stop. However, looking at that cheap face, the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Jun Changshao didn't care about him, and began to look at this ethereal space, thinking to himself, could there be any secrets hidden here? Was the whirlpool activated by the 7 remnant scrolls only a chance to enter the land of eternal life? The celestial devil emperor, who had calmed down, also thought so, so he began to wander aimlessly in the space. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh. The wind gently blew past his ears. Ga. Jun Changshao and the Celestial Devil Emperor stopped at the same time, thinking at the same time. How could there be wind blowing in a sealed space? Shua. The two moved at the same time and looked in a certain direction. In front of them was an area of thick fog that could not be seen through, and the wind was blowing from there. There was a problem. Jun Changshao and the Celestial Devil Emperor hurriedly walked over. The wind was still blowing, and the road under their feet seemed to be endless. The more it was like this, the more suspicious the two became. After walking for an unknown amount of time, the two of them stopped, because there was a constantly rotating vortex in front of them. The wind was blowing from inside. Exit. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. Xiao, at this moment, the Celestial Devil Emperor was the first to rush over. Before leaving, he looked back at Go Sheng, as if to say, "Kid, I'll wait for you outside." Jun Changshao panicked. If the whirlpool was the exit to the outside world, and he was the first to block the door, wouldn't he be dead? Shua. Thinking of this, Jun Changshao used all his strength to rush over, and his entire face became extremely distorted. He had to surpass it, he had to go out first. Humph. The Celestial Devil Emperor sneered and said, "Competing with me in speed, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Xiao, with a big stride, he rushed far away in an instant. This made Jun Changshao feel desperate and consider whether he should stay first. At least his body was a shadow, and he was not afraid of being bullied. Boom! Suddenly, there was a collision sound. Jun Changshao came back to his senses and looked up, only to find that the Celestial Devil Emperor had arrived at the whirlpool. To be exact, he was stuck on it in the shape of a U. It was not the exit. It was a hard space barrier. Ga. Jun Changshao hurriedly braked and barely stopped at the edge of the whirlpool. Watching the Celestial Devil Emperor's entire face sink in, he couldn't help but laugh like a goose. XSWL. The Celestial Devil Emperor pulled his body out of the sunken space with difficulty, then covered his face and squatted on the ground. Oh, oh, oh. Seeing this, Jun Changshao laughed even more happily. The Celestial Devil Emperor trembled with anger, but there was nothing he could do. Buzz. At this moment, the mirror-like smooth barrier glowed, and gradually showed an image. Projection array. Jun Changshao was stunned. It was a dark space of the universe, without the slightest trace of life, and even gave people a creepy feeling. Shua. Suddenly, a luster like a ghost fire rose, and a ferocious face appeared. Because the Celestial Devil Emperor was too engrossed in watching, he was startled by the sudden change and even instinctively took half a step back. Bah! Jun Changshao said, embarrassing. The Celestial Devil Emperor clenched his fists. A guy who was scared back a few steps actually had the nerve to mock this emperor. The two continued to watch and found that the camera zoomed out, showing an old man with disheveled hair. His 10 skinny fingers were like sharp blades inserted into the soil. What do you mean? Jun Changshao was at a loss. After the old man's 10 fingers were inserted into the ground, the camera gradually extended to the distance until a complete plane was shown. The plane was not big, but its scale was higher than the upper realm. The more Jun Changshao watched, the more puzzled he became, but soon he was shocked by the scene in front of him. That plane was withering and collapsing at a speed visible to the naked eye until it completely collapsed into nothingness. At this time, the camera zoomed in on the old man again. A gloomy smile appeared on his face, and an energy cluster appeared between his 10 fingers, and then, he opened his mouth and ate it. Jun Changshao was shocked, he ate a plane. That's right. The system said. Go Sheng's eyes opened wider and wider, almost popping out of their sockets. A complete plane was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye until it turned into the size of an apple and was eaten raw. This scene was simply too horrifying. Burp. The old man burped, still not satisfied, still not enough. Still not enough. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched as he said, "Could it be that this guy has eaten more than one plane?" At this time, he noticed the celestial devil emperor standing next to him. Although he still could not see his face clearly, from the frequency of his trembling hands, he seemed to be a little too excited. Could it be that they knew each other? In an instant, the words of Jian Guixiu flashed in Jun Changxiao's mind, and he said in surprise, "This old man can't be the heaven-devouring evil lord." "You guessed right," the celestial devil emperor said indifferently, and one could tell from his tone that he was very excited. Jun Changxiao was silent. As expected of the word devour, he could even eat a plane. Next, the light screen showed the old man passing by one plane after another and eating them in the same way. The living beings in them, or the various resources, all became his food. Cruel. Jun Changxiao frowned. The celestial devil emperor did not care about living beings, but whether he could learn something. Therefore, every time he saw the heaven-devouring evil lord in action, he would observe very carefully, not missing any details or movements. Gradually, he learned something from the other party's repeated devouring of planes. "I understand now." The celestial devil emperor thought to himself, "The secret of this illusory space might be to teach me the correct way to use the heaven-devouring and transforming demon technique." Jun Changxiao could not understand, because he did not cultivate such an evil technique. At this time, the scene on the light screen suddenly changed. The heaven-devouring evil lord came to another plane and was about to stick his fingers into the soil when he looked up at the sky. The camera turned. In the sky stood a middle-aged man in a fluttering robe. When Jun Changxiao saw him, he stood on the spot as if struck by lightning. The system was also shocked. The middle-aged man had a simple and unpretentious temperament. But his face and facial features were very similar to Jun Changxiao's. Putting aside the age gap, they were practically carved from the same mold. "Who are you?" the heaven-devouring evil lord said with a cold gaze. The middle-aged man floated down slowly and landed opposite him. Naturally, he put his hands behind his back and said, "No name, no surname. See Qishuan off." Chapter 1974. No name, no surname, known as Seven Profound. 8 words rang out from the screen. Although they sounded plain, they seemed to contain some kind of profound meaning that penetrated deep into one's soul. The celestial demonic emperor was also dumbfounded. 7 Profound. Could it be a martial arts legend in the upper universe? The most dumbfounded was Jun Changxiao. Apart from being older, the middle-aged man's face and facial features were very similar to his. It was not wrong to say that they were the same person. He had once fantasized that he might be the 7 Profound Sage. Because he was too lonely and invincible, he chose to reincarnate to regain his lost youth. Now it seemed that he could be sure. "I am the 7 Profound Sage, the 7 Profound Sage is me." After a short silence, the system roared, "This is too ridiculous." When Jun Changxiao was fantasizing, he would definitely not spare any effort to ridicule him. Now that it was really possible, it was definitely the strongest slap to the face. I, who stood at the peak, was lonely and cold. I had no choice but to reincarnate, hoping to gain pleasure from it. Even. Go Xing paused and said solemnly, "I created you." Identity revealed. The system's origin revealed. Ness. The system roared, "Even if you are in a hurry to end it, you can't be so far-fetched." 7 Profound. In the screen, the heaven-devouring evil lord said in surprise, "You are the martial arts legend in the upper universe." The middle-aged man smiled but did not say anything. He gave off a feeling of bathing in the spring breeze. Although he and Jun Changshao looked similar in appearance, he did not have that kind of despicable temperament. On the contrary, he was very mature and steady, even with a hint of an otherworldly expert. If Go Sheng was really the seven profound sage, it was hard to imagine that he would be so serious in his previous life. The birth of a plane is the result of countless years of nurturing under the order of the universe. How can I let you devour it so casually? Kakik. The heaven-devouring evil lord laughed strangely. The survival of the fittest, is the eternal law of heaven and earth. Since I have the ability to eat it, they can only be fish meat. That makes sense. The middle-aged man nodded in agreement. Jun Changshao said speechlessly, was there a problem with my 3 views in my previous life? Bah! The system said helplessly, you only look like him. Does the host really think that he is the 7 profound holy venerable? Since you agree with my point of view, why stop me? The heaven-devouring evil lord said indifferently. Because, the middle-aged man waved his hand and smiled. In order to abide by the eternal law, I'll be the knife today, and you'll be the fish. The moment he said this, the heaven-devouring evil lord's pupils shrank. A strong sense of foreboding welled up in his heart. Buzz. 7-colored energy gathered between the middle-aged man's fingers and expanded after absorbing the surrounding energy. 7 profound sunglow break. Jun Changxiao's eyes were filled with shock. Ever since he had mastered the power of celestial music, the power of this martial skill had increased. However, compared to the middle-aged man's casual use of it, it paled in comparison. Be more violent. He wasn't even fit to carry his shoes. Awesome. Jun Changshao couldn't hide the excitement in his heart and said, I was too awesome in my previous life. Nothing is set in stone yet, can you stop being so narcissistic? The system really couldn't take it anymore. If it had a physical body, it would probably have roared until it vomited blood. Huff. Huff. In the light screen, the middle-aged man was suspended in midair. 7 types of attributes condensed from different angles, forming an energy ball that emitted a frightening aura. Beads of sweat appeared on the forehead of the heaven-devouring evil lord. The sense of foreboding and uneasiness in his heart grew stronger. He understood. This guy wanted to kill him. No. This ancestor had achieved great success and was in the midst of a rising career. How could he die here? Ta! The heaven-devouring evil lord spread his legs and retracted his fists to his waist. He raised his head and roared, even if you're a martial arts legend, you can forget about hurting me. As he roared, his body quickly erupted with pitch-black attributes. Those who didn't know better would think that he was a scion. Seeing this, Jun Changshao knew that the two were about to fight. He was invincible in his previous life and the demon who brought disaster to the universe. This battle would definitely shock the world. The Sky Devil Emperor was also watching very seriously. He wasn't looking forward to an exciting battle. He was only looking forward to learning more about mental cultivation techniques from the heaven-devouring evil lord's movements. If you're an evildoer, I'll give you a chance to turn over a new leaf. The middle-aged man said as he gathered his strength, but for a demon like you who treats living creatures like grass, there's only death. His tone was calm, but his killing intent was determined. Shameless boasting. The heaven-devouring evil lord crossed his hands, and the pitch-black demonic aura around him became stronger. He roared, look at my demonic power, invincible. Ka-ka. Ka-ka. The demonic aura instantly materialized and formed layers of barriers in front of him, quickly constructing layers of defense. The Sky Devil Emperor's eyes were burning. He saw it. He learned it. The scene on the light screen seemed to be from the past. But for him, it was actually a live teaching. He could more directly comprehend the heaven-devouring demon conversion technique. Sigh. The middle-aged man shook his head and said, stubborn. After that, his body disappeared from the spot. The black barriers condensed below were all shattered in an instant, turning into fragments that filled the sky. Damn! Jun Changxiao's eyes widened. What he saw was not only the barriers suddenly shattering, but also his past self standing sideways in front of the heaven-devouring evil lord, gathering seven-colored energy with 2 fingers in front of his forehead. He said calmly, "Leave your last words." Damn it! How did he get there? He didn't see it at all. The heaven-devouring evil lord obviously did not expect his defense line to be so weak. So he stood there dumbfounded. Only when the aura of death completely enveloped his sea of consciousness did he regain his senses. He roared his last words, "I'll be back." Whoosh! The 7-colored light mercilessly pierced through his forehead. Plop! The heaven-devouring evil lord's eyes were wide open, and he collapsed to the ground lifelessly. Just like that, he died. Jun Changxiao's expression was extremely interesting. The heaven-devouring evil lord. Just from the name alone, he was a top villain. In the end, he was cleanly stabbed to death by his past self. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good will be rewarded with good, and evil will be repaid with evil. It's not that there's no retribution, it's just that the time has not come. The middle-aged man left these words, and his body gradually disappeared. At this point, the scene on the light screen was gone. Jun Changxiao was speechless. That's it. He had thought that seeing his past self would allow him to learn a great secret, and even restore his strength to its peak and become a supreme existence in the upper universe. In the end, he had only witnessed the death of the heaven-devouring evil lord. Hee. The system said, "Host, please don't think too much. Exactly the same as me." How do you explain that? Jun Changxiao asked. This, after a short silence, the system said, "Perhaps such a super mighty person already has the likeness of all living things. Anyone who sees him would think that he looks like himself. You're the one who's far-fetched." Jun Changxiao rolled his eyes. Kakik. While the two of them were conversing, the celestial devil emperor, who was deep in thought, suddenly laughed strangely. His face, which seemed to have been pixelated all along, gradually became clear. His complete face and facial features were exactly the same as the heaven-devouring evil lord's. Damn! Jun Changxiao said in surprise, could this guy be the heaven-devouring evil lord in his past life? Chapter 1975. It was as if the celestial demonic emperor had purposely used a picture to cover his face so that no one could see his original appearance during the live broadcast. Then, with a strange laugh, the picture suddenly disappeared. Regardless of whether it was an accident or intentional, his face was extremely similar to the heaven-devouring evil lord. After Jun Changxiao saw it clearly, he immediately wondered if this guy was also a reincarnation like him. Thinking back to the words of the heaven-devouring evil lord before his death, Wuxia had a deeper understanding of the situation. I am the 7 profound sage. I am the heaven-devouring evil lord. To be able to meet again in this life, were they going to continue their previous fate? Sigh. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, the past is the cause, and now is the effect. You and I are destined to fight to the death. Whoosh whoosh. At this time, an aura similar to the heaven-devouring evil lord appeared around the celestial demonic emperor. His face gradually became ferocious and excited. Compared to Jun Changxiao, who kept imagining that he was the 7 profound sage, the celestial demonic emperor was more realistic. He focused on comprehending the mental cultivation method and finally made great progress. An expert. No one succeeded easily. Except for cheating. Jun Changxiao frowned. Based on the current situation, he would definitely be beaten to death. The aura now seemed to be even stronger than before. The gap between you two is getting bigger and bigger, the system said. This is not a good sign. Jun Changxiao. The celestial demonic emperor raised his hand arrogantly, and a small pitch-black vortex formed. He smiled coldly and said, "Leave this godforsaken place and you will die." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Your strength is already outstanding enough in the upper universe. Why do you have to use bloody means to suppress thousands of living beings?" "You are wrong." The celestial demonic emperor said, "I am not suppressing, I am reforming. I am reforming the unfairness and injustice of this world and establishing a new order." Bah! Jun Changshao spat out a mouthful of phlegm and said, "Don't give yourself a high-sounding reason." "All right." The celestial demonic emperor covered his face and laughed strangely. "To put it bluntly, if I am not here, how can you show that you are a hero?" Jun Changshao was speechless. "If there is black, there is white. If there is good, there is evil. If I represent evil, there will be someone who represents light. This is an eternal law," the celestial devil emperor said. "But black and white, good and evil, who defines them? Define justice. Who defines justice? The human heart. If that's the case, as long as I control people's hearts, it means that I control justice and can define good and evil." The celestial demonic emperor smiled ferociously. "People's hearts that are not under my control naturally need to be cleaned up." Jun Changshao was speechless. "You're crazy. Kakik." The celestial devil emperor smiled disapprovingly and said, "Only a fool would be satisfied with the status quo. I am a madman, so I dare to do what the fools don't dare to do." In other words, you think you did the right thing? Right or wrong is not important, because as long as I can successfully create a new era, everything that is wrong will be right. Jun Changshao found it meaningless to continue chatting with him, so he muttered in a low voice, "Damned staff." Jun Changshao. The celestial devil emperor said proudly, "You can be considered a talent. I quite admire you. Why don't you help me accomplish my great cause? Are you recruiting me?" "Yes." Jun Changshao touched his nose and said with a smile, "When I was in the mortal world, someone also recruited me." "And then?" The celestial devil emperor asked curiously. "And then?" Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "He became my man." Who was he talking about? Yes, he was talking about Yuan Gongzi. In particular, in order to hide from Go Sheng, he ran from the continent to Fishery Province of the East Sea. In the end, they still met. That was really tragic. "You mean, if I recruit you, I will eventually become your subordinate?" The celestial devil emperor asked. Jun Changshao said, "The sect of all times doesn't accept dead people." The celestial devil emperor's eyes gradually became cold. He said, "Jun Changshao, you and I will settle the score between us sooner or later. At that time, you and all your family will die without a burial place." Jun Changshao's eyes also became cold when he heard that. It didn't matter how harsh words were, but when it involved his family, he definitely couldn't accept it. Buzz. Suddenly, the space shook. Before Jun Changshao and the celestial devil emperor could react, their bodies quickly faded and then completely disappeared on the spot. In the universe's starry sky, the huge vortexes that originally existed in two directions suddenly stopped. "It's gone," Jian Guishu said in surprise. Swish. At this time, Jun Changshao appeared out of thin air in the area where the vortexes disappeared. "The patriarch is out." The disciples hurriedly flew over. Before they could ask, they saw the patriarch directly raise his hand and slap them in the face. It was a solid slap on the face, and he could clearly feel the pain. This made Jun Changshao certain that he was no longer in an illusory state. The system complained, "Can't I touch your face? Must I slap you so hard? Shameless. I like it." There was no way to explain this. Sect of all times. Jian Guishu looked at Jun Changshao with anticipation. "It's gone." Gone. Jian Guishu almost fell. He was the only one who entered the strange seven-colored vortex. There might be some kind of opportunity inside, but he only saw the scene of the heaven-devouring evil lord being killed. Are you sure you didn't miss anything? I'm sure. Jun Changshao was also quite frustrated. He had finally unlocked the mystery of the remnant scroll, but in the end, he only knew that he might be the seven profound holy master and that the heaven-devouring evil lord was killed. After that, there was no benefit. On the other hand, the celestial devil emperor seemed to have comprehended something and his strength increased again. Bullshit. The system said, I gave you a chance to enter the land of eternal life, but you chose to reject it. Jun Changshao was silent. It shouldn't be. Jian Guishu rested his chin on his hand. Senior. Jun Changshao said seriously, I met the celestial devil emperor inside. This person might be the reincarnation of the heaven-devouring evil lord. Ah. Jian Guishu was stunned. Many rumors said that the celestial devil emperor was the descendant of that demon. If he was the reincarnation, the problem would be serious. As for me. Jun Changshao paused and said, I might be the reincarnation of a martial arts legend. In all honesty. Go Sheng was very serious when he said this. However, when Jian Guishu heard this, he was stunned for a few seconds. Then he sat on the chair and covered his laughter with his hand. He had undergone professional training. Unless he could not help it, he would never laugh. I'm serious. Jun Changshao shook his head and left the hall. As soon as he walked out, he heard Jian Guishu's unbridled laughter. Sigh. He sighed, looked up at the sky, and said, I killed the heaven-devouring evil lord in my previous life. In this life, I must kill the celestial devil emperor. In the study. Jun Changshao returned. The 7 incomplete scrolls were still stacked on the table. They were not as colorful as before. Is it really that simple to enter the land of eternal life? Gosheng sat down, touched the scroll, and said to himself, maybe it was deliberately left behind. Jun Changshao narrowed his eyes. He found that although the first scroll had returned to its normal state, there were faint patterns on the cover. The second scroll, the third scroll, all of them. Whoosh! Jun Changshao stood up and spread out the 7 scrolls. After careful observation and arrangement, he exclaimed, Maps. Chapter 1976. There was nothing on the cover of the 7 books at first, but now there were strange patterns. When Jun Changshao arranged them casually, they actually formed a map. No. To be precise, it was a star field map. Judging from the general structure, there were many galaxies and planes inside. Over the years, Jun Changshao had driven Eternal to many places, but he had no impression of this place. Normal. The system said, the host's understanding of the upper universe is only the tip of the iceberg. Why is there a star field map? Jun Changshao's intuition told him that the patterns in the books were not random scribbles. It was very likely that he had left behind treasures. Fine. The system was speechless. If you really think about your previous life, you would be the 7 profound sage. Find it. Jun Changshao immediately took out a pen and ink and copied the patterns from the 7 books. Then he went to the array hall and handed it to Shengguan Xinyao. Patriarch. She asked, what is this? Star field map. Jun Changshao urged, find it as soon as possible. Oh. Shengguan Xinyao picked up the pattern and carefully observed and thought. She shook her head and said, the explored areas in our star field map don't have these places. What was the strongest brain? The places he had been to and the places on the map were all in his mind. There was no need to compare them individually with the map. Then find it, Jun Changshao said. The Taishian elder who was drinking tea at the side spat out and said, "The upper universe is so big. It's not easy to find it." "That's your problem." Jun Changshao said, "It's not my problem." The Taishian elder was speechless. "Our array hall is only responsible for researching arrays. Shouldn't the drizzle hall be responsible for finding planes and certain things?" "Makes sense." Jun Changshao said, "Then let them find it." Just like that, the work that was originally arranged for the array hall was all transferred to the drizzle hall. After Li Luoqiu found out, although she felt a headache, she still organized people to find the places marked on the map. Whoosh! Swish! On that day, countless battleships took off from the eternal world and flew into the starry sky. Li Luoqiu had mobilized nearly 1,000 members this time. They were going to explore the universe that had never been explored before. After leaving the upper realm, Jun Changshao was, at most, on an interstellar journey. He was flying aimlessly, stopping wherever he went and leaving everything up to fate. Now, with the eternal world as the foundation, he ordered his disciples to explore the unknown areas, which was equivalent to taking the initiative to explore the entire upper universe. As the saying goes, when Goshing went to war, not even a blade of grass grew. Hopefully, some of the rich plains would not be discovered by the members of the Drizzle Hall, and would not be marked on the central star map array of the Sect of all times. What was the central star map array formation? It was a special formation created by the old man from Taishian. It was special because it didn't have any offensive or defensive functions. Its only function was to record the positions and coordinates of the major star fields and the major planes. To put it bluntly, it was more like a professional map. It was a complete record of every star field and plane in the upper universe. Of course, there were still many star fields that had not been explored, so when the coordinates were obtained, they would be accurately loaded. The old man from Taishian wanted to draw the most complete picture of the universe in history. The Drizzle Hall sent members to explore, and they could get many places that had not been explored before, so they could constantly enrich and perfect the central star map array formation. It looked boring. But one day, all the star fields and planes in the upper universe would appear on it. That would be a magnificent feat that would be recorded in history. Patriarch. The next day, Li Luoqiu hurriedly walked into the main hall and said with a serious expression, "The spiritual might world has disappeared." Disappeared? Jun Changshao said, "Has it been destroyed?" Li Luoqiu explained, "According to the news sent, the spiritual might world has evaporated like air in its star field." Jun Changshao frowned. In the afternoon, Li Luoqiu came to report again, "Patriarch, the spirit radiance world has also disappeared." Swoosh! Jun Changshao hurried to the central star map array formation of the array formation hall. Soon, he discovered that the spiritual might world and the spirit radiance world were not only in the same star field, but they were also very close to each other. In just a few hours, two had disappeared in a row. It was very abnormal. There were more than two. When night came, another one had disappeared. My hall members went to explore the star field given by the Patriarch. They happened to pass by this star field and didn't find anything unusual, Li Luoqiu said. Jun Changshao sat at the head of the table, his fingers intertwined. After a moment of silence, he thought to himself, "Is it the heavenly devil emperor?" Thinking of the heaven-devouring evil lord devouring planes, he could not help but wonder if the other party had comprehended that evil technique and started to walk the same path as the former. If it's the heavenly devil emperor, the system said, that's troublesome. My head hurts. Jun Changshao leaned back in his chair and rubbed his temples as a rare sense of powerlessness appeared in his eyes. For the time being, he would not be able to defeat the celestial demonic emperor if he did not cheat. Now that that guy had mastered the evil technique of devouring planes, his strength would definitely continue to increase. How could he compete with him in the future? Still resisting? The system said, just pray that he doesn't catch you. No. Jun Changshao stood up and said seriously, "We have to find the location marked on the star field map as soon as possible. There might be a way to defeat the demonic emperor." The 7 scrolls contained the supreme power Upanishads. And now, they gave him the coordinates of the star area. Shi Yen believed that he would have a chance there. Or perhaps, in the past, he had predicted that the heaven-devouring evil lord would be reincarnated. Therefore, he had purposely left behind the 7 remnant volumes as a countermeasure. That's possible, but... The system roared. Can you not put yourself in the shoes of the 7 profound holy sovereign? The endless universe seemed a little gloomy. Wang wang. The 10 fingers emitted a special energy. Not only did it penetrate deep into the ground, but it also quickly found the origin of the plane and bound it. Ka ka ka. It tightened and strangled. The origin of the plane wanted to struggle, but it couldn't resist the binding force. Its internal power was constantly being drained, and it quickly turned from bright to dim. When the heart of a plane stopped beating, it would definitely bring about devastating consequences. However, before it could fall apart, the special energy scattered in the soil suddenly produced a suction force. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the plane disappeared from the universe. The living beings and resources that lived in it were naturally all gone. Kakik. The black shadow hanging in the area where the plane disappeared licked its fingers and said, "Delicious food." Who? The demonic emperor. Jun Changshao had guessed correctly. This guy had witnessed the heaven-devouring evil lord's repeated attacks through the light screen. He had a higher understanding of the heaven-devouring demon transformation technique and had begun to control the ability to devour the heavens and the earth. Patriarch. Li Luoqiu reported, "Another one disappeared." Jun Changxiao's frown deepened. At this moment, he was even more certain that the disappearance of the planes was related to the demonic emperor. The system said, all the planes that disappeared belonged to small planes. If it was done by the demonic emperor, it means that he hasn't completely grasped the power of devouring. So, Jun Changshao said, we have to find a way to get rid of him before he reaches the level of the heaven-devouring evil lord. Otherwise, the entire upper universe will become food. Search, search. Search faster. Everyone in the sect of all times was on the move. One by one, the upper echelons and disciples flew into the universe. Finally, their hard work paid off. After a month, they successfully found the area marked on the map. That's right. Jun Changshao stood in front of the bow of the eternal ship. His spiritual senses were still lingering in the unknown region of the universe. He said, it should be here. Jian Guishu said solemnly, this is the most dangerous forbidden area in the upper universe. Jun Patriarch, you better not go in easily, otherwise, before he could finish. Because Jun Changshao had already gone in. When he crossed some hidden dividing line, a few words slowly appeared in the starry sky despair abyss. Schwa. The upper echelons and disciples of the sect of all times followed. Although the 4 words that appeared were very eerie and scary, since the patriarch had gone in, they followed without hesitation. Ding! Legendary mission activated. After Jun Changshao and his disciples entered the area, notification suddenly rang in their ears. Legendary mission. Chapter 1977. Legendary mission. After hearing the prompt, Jun Changshao froze in place. Over the years, he had taken on main missions, side missions, hidden missions, and epic missions, but he had never received such a mission. Sigh. The system sighed, stop hiding, let's lay our cards on the table. In fact, there has always been a legendary mission, but because it is too difficult and the requirements are very harsh, the host has never triggered it. He tue. Jun Changshao said, either it is a temporary setting, or you don't know. Bullshit. The system said, how can I not know? You are a tool for complaining, Jun Changshao said straightforwardly. Don't say it. From the previous situation, Go Sheng was right. A system that could always speak human language was not a real system. At best, it was a salesman and chat tool. The tool trembled with anger. Jun Changshao was too lazy to argue with it and hurriedly opened the mission panel. The introduction panel of the legendary mission was very luxurious, directly beating the panels of the main mission, side mission, and epic mission. I feel it. Jun Changshao closed his eyes and felt with his heart, the power of Krypton is calling me. There were many words written on the legendary mission, at least a large chapter. In order to avoid the word count, in summary, it must be completed with the participation of the Patriarch and the whole sect. Jun Changshao said, the whole sect needs to participate, worthy of a legendary mission. The mission also explained in detail that if completed successfully, all participants would receive a reward. As for what the reward was, it varied from person to person. Then, what mission? To put it simply, it was to gather the strength of the sect and obtain the treasure hidden in the despair abyss. It was very straightforward, very clear. Sure enough. Jun Changxiao's eyes were burning, there is a treasure hidden here. Shwa. He took out the star area map, determined the area, and said with a serious expression, follow me, don't separate. Yes. Everyone responded. There were not many seniors and disciples who entered this time, but they were all elites of the sect, such as Gu Zhaoxi, Black and White Rakshasa, Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, and others. As for the other disciples, they were in the eternal world. This time, Jun Changshao had already activated the sand transformation. Therefore, the power of the entire sect could be brought out at any time. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing also followed in. Seniors. Jun Changshao urged as he walked, no matter what happens later, don't do anything. Let us handle it. The two of them were not members of the sect of all times, but they were allies. He did not want to chase them away, and he was also afraid that it would affect his completion rate. Thus, he could only allow them to follow, but not participate directly. All right. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing agreed. Abyss of Despair. In the upper universe forbidden area. Its location was very remote, and because of the invisible barrier, it seemed to have been deliberately separated. Normal martial artists would not dare to come here because they would feel despair the moment they entered. If it wasn't for the map marking this place, Jun Changshao definitely wouldn't have come here for the thrill. Moreover, after walking for a long time, he still didn't see any resources. The despair abyss once hid endless resources. On the way, Jian Guishu said, later, because of excessive mining, it was emptied tens of thousands of years ago and became a ruin that no one cared about. What a pity. Jun Changshao said, we're late. Why didn't he guess that the treasure would be dug up by someone else first? The reason was simple. If the treasure was gone, bringing in disciples would not trigger the legendary mission. Damn. The system complained, is this a spoiler? As for saying that they were late, the meaning was simple. If they came tens of thousands of years earlier, not only could they obtain the treasure, but they could also obtain a large amount of resources in the despair abyss. It was killing two birds with one stone. Whoosh whoosh. The cold wind blew. It was extremely desolate. The despair abyss was a relatively independent star region. Not only were there meteorites and galaxies, but there were also scattered plains. Unfortunately, they were all dried up. There were no resources or origins, so the disciples of the sect of all times had no idea where to start. Second senior brother. In a plain filled with yellow sand, Su Xiaoma asked in a low voice, will there be treasures in this godforsaken place? Don't ask. Li Qingyang answered. Oh. Su Xiaoma shut his mouth. Jun Changshao sat in an open space. He took out the map engraved from the remnant scroll and studied it carefully. The marked area had been found. Were there any secrets? Patriarch. Shangguan Xinyao pointed at a place on the map and said, "The arrangement of these planes, don't they look like some kind of demonic beast?" Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up and said, "Yes, they do." Jian Guixiu said, "The star region map may contain some kind of astronomical phenomenon. Jun Patriarch, you'd better find someone who knows feng shui to interpret it." "No feng shui?" Jun Changxiao immediately thought of his father, so he asked him to come out of the eternal world. "That's right." Zhang San, who was proficient in divination, carefully examined the star region map. He pointed at the area mentioned by Shangguan Xinyao and said, "From the arrangement of the planes, it should be Evil Return." Evil Return? It's an ancient demonic beast with a dragon head, a horse's body, and scales feet. It's shaped like a lion. From his father's description, Jun Changxiao thought of the Pishio. Then he carefully observed the arrangement of the planes. It was indeed a little similar. Evil Return means auspicious. Zhang San said, "From the perspective of feng shui, there should be opportunities hidden in this area. Let's go." Jun Changxiao got up and said, "Let's find it." Zhang San said with a serious expression, "Although it's an auspicious place, it's surrounded by dangerous places. I'm afraid it's not easy to get in. Wealth comes from danger." Since he was here, Jun Changxiao had no reason to shrink back. Moreover, there was a legendary task. He had to complete it and get the treasure. Dogs Leftover even began to look forward to this kind of mission that seemed to be above the epic and main storyline levels. What kind of generous rewards would he get after completing it? Would he directly break through to the top of the divine vision realm and kill the celestial demonic emperor? There was a more important point. After the task was completed, he would not be the only one who would benefit. If his thoughts were even more daring, would the entire sect break through to the divine vision realm and enter the land of eternal life? The system said, if it's as the host thinks, then it's the end. Everyone followed the terrain and headed towards the auspicious place. Zhang San had been studying the map the whole time. After walking for about an hour, he hurriedly stopped and said, "If I'm not wrong, the starry sky ahead is the first place of great danger." Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, the space in front of them trembled and gradually tore open a space crack. Woo woo woo! Ao ao ao! Ghostly wails and howls came from the crack, and then they saw ghost-like creatures rushing out. Their eyes flickered with blue light, and their hands gathered blue energy, looking exceptionally ferocious. If you want to get the treasure, you have to get through this first. A huge blue ghost body slowly appeared, as if it was the leader of the ghost group. Oh! Jun Changxiao lowered his head, rubbed out a flame, lit the cigar in his mouth, then raised his head and blew out a smoke ring, saying, "As you wish." Swish! Swish! Gu Zhaoxi and the other upper echelons, as well as Li Qingyang and the other core disciples, flew forward from behind him. All kinds of martial arts and special effects erupted, killing towards the group of ghosts that was like a wave. At this point, the Battle of the Abyss dungeon began. If you want to know what will happen, listen to the next chapter. Chapter 1978. The number of spirits that appeared was quite large, and they needed everyone in the sect of all times to work together to get rid of them. Jun Changxiao did not make a move. In his opinion, since the mission required the participation of the entire sect, everyone should contribute. He was not worried about not being able to meet the mission requirements, but he was worried that the disciples who did not participate would not be able to get the rewards after the mission was completed. Since they were in the abyss of despair and had a legendary mission, they had to let everyone benefit. Kill! Zhong Yi jumped on his horse and charged forward with his team. As the leader of the vanguard team, he would definitely take the lead in such a battle. Swoosh! The long saber cut through the desolate void, and the saber aura was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, directly killing dozens of spirits in front of him. Woo woo woo! Ghostly cries and howls could be heard as the spirits pounced from both sides. Zhong Yi did not dodge and charged forward with his saber as he knew that there would be reinforcements from his sect behind him. As expected, Li Tian flew over while being attacked from both sides. He raised his sniper rifle with his right hand and rested it on his left arm. Without even aiming, he pulled the trigger. Bang! 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 Bullets shot out and flew past Zhong Yi's shoulders, accurately hitting the spirits' foreheads and turning them into powder. So accurate. Li Tian was a little smug. In the past, this guy used to shoot his own people in the Falling Star continent. Now that he had a more stable mentality and better shooting skills, he would definitely be safe from the back of his sect. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, more than 10 phantoms appeared nearby. They gathered strange energy in their hands and pressed it down without any explanation. Boom! 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 However, before they could touch Li Tian, they shattered into nothingness. Viper Yang kept his overlord spear and said with a straight face, "How many times have I told you? When we're in action, we can't be distracted." When the Drizzle Hall was first established, he was appointed as an instructor. Li Tian was among the first batch of members he trained. He had watched him grow up step by step, and their relationship could be described as that of a teacher and a friend. He still remembered. When they went to eliminate Black Eagle Hall, Li Tian followed his fellow disciples to battle. Not only did he perform poorly, but he also almost got Viper killed. After that incident, his mentality changed, and he began to work hard to overcome his shortcomings and the fear in his heart. In the end, he became an outstanding member of the Drizzle Hall and a photography enthusiast. Whoosh! Suddenly, Li Tian shifted his body and shot at the two ghosts. He grinned and said, "Brother Snake, you're distracted too." Viper rolled his eyes at him and charged over with his overlord spear. Li Tian quickly reloaded and followed closely behind. As he moved, he fired frequently, killing the spirits in the distance one by one. This kind of scene that relied on firearms to kill from afar was really not aesthetically pleasing. Therefore, the camera turned away and locked onto the female disciple Ling Yuanxue. Even though she had joined the Sect of All Times for decades, her appearance had not changed much. She even looked weak and fragile. Hoo! Ling Yuanxue followed her fellow disciples and rushed forward very quickly. She was immediately surrounded by dozens of ghosts. For such a weak woman to be trapped in the enemy's camp, it would definitely cause her fellow disciples to worry. But the reality was that everyone was busy with their own things, killing their own people. Even if they saw her, they wouldn't take it to heart. Woo! Dozens of ghosts let out strange cries and rushed forward. Seeing this, Ling Yuanxue closed her eyes and gathered the power of the true spirit in her hands and legs. She bombarded her surroundings with lightning speed. When she opened her eyes, the monsters that attacked her had all collapsed into nothingness. Fast, ruthless, and accurate. She controlled it perfectly. Amazing, junior sister. Li Tian passed by and gave her a thumbs up. Ling Yuanxue, who was killing decisively just now, suddenly blushed and even covered her face in embarrassment. This was a shy girl who was easily embarrassed. When she was training in Death Valley, she killed the wolf beasts with her fists out of fear. Her mentality had changed. In short, don't be fooled by her weak and cute appearance. Once she entered a battle state, she would be very fierce. Li Tian and Ling Yuanxue were both representatives of the core disciples. Describing them was equivalent to describing everything. Next, the camera turned to the core disciples. As the mainstay of the sect, their battle was even more powerful. Needless to say, Lu Qianxian, the ice-type mid-laner, used Absolute Zero to freeze a large number of ghosts, turning them into lifelike ice sculptures. Clang! Unsheath! Clang! Sheath! Clang. Unsheath. Sheath. Sheath. Under Zhou Hong's frequent and extreme control, thousands of frozen ghosts were all cut into pieces. Huff huff. However, in exchange, he was targeted by even more ghosts. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as strange energy whizzed over. Boom 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 boom. The sound of collision rose one after another. Zhou Hong did not receive any damage because a streamer shield had already been erected in front of him, blocking all the strange energy outside. Whoosh! At the same time, Yi Xingqian turned into a stream of light and rushed over. The ghosts surrounding the shield were instantly shattered into nothingness. Ka ka. Xiao Ziji rushed over from the starry sky and kept the streamer shield. His left and right hands gradually converged into a pair of mechanical swords. He then rushed toward the area where the ghosts were most concentrated. He attacked in front and defended in the back. One in front and one behind, he instantly rushed into the enemy's group. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The two of them, who were proficient in both offense and defense, were like sharp blades that ruthlessly pierced through the enemy's defense line. While cooperating with each other, they performed a textbook-level coordinated battle. Jun Changxiao's face was filled with gratification. Although the core disciples were all very strong, he was more optimistic about the tacit understanding of the Midnight Snack duo. This was because their relationship had already surpassed that of fellow disciples and had risen to a higher level. At this moment, even if 10 heavenly secret realm warriors came, they would not be enough to kill these two. Huff huff. Huff huff. At this moment, the space in the distance suddenly trembled. 10 larger ghosts appeared. From the aura that erupted, it was obvious that they had already reached the heavenly secret realm. Ha ha ha. The system could not help but laugh. What are you thinking of? Jun Changxiao shook his head helplessly. However, he quickly laughed and said, just experience babies. As expected. When the Midnight Snack duo saw the stronger ghosts appear, they immediately charged out from the enemy's army and went around from the left and right respectively. They fully unleashed their spiritual energy to kill the ghosts. Boom boom boom. They advanced side by side and bloomed in all directions. In a short period of time, 10 divine secret realm specters that had just appeared had died at the hands of Yi Xingqian and Xiao Zuiji. The two of them looked at each other, and the corners of their mouths curled up into a smile. This scene was noticed by Li Tian, and he decisively took out his camera to capture it. The Sect of all times was too strong. Even if the ghosts continuously appeared from the void, they were still unable to fight against them. 10 minutes later, the upper echelons and disciples each blocked the front of a crack. They killed all the ghosts that came out. They were waiting for the right opportunity. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing shook their heads. The two of them knew the strength of the Sect of all times better. They were already able to face it calmly. Sigh. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, if this is all they have, the treasure will be in the bag of the Sect of all times. The system was speechless. He is really despicable. Buzz buzz. At this moment, the entire space suddenly trembled. The smug Jun Changxiao was instantly teleported into a small space. The upper echelons and disciples of the Sect of all times were either alone or in pairs. Only Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were left behind. They stood rooted to the ground like wooden chickens. Where are they? What's going on? Chapter 1979. After dealing with the spirits, Jun Changxiao, the upper echelons, and the disciples were all sent into an independent space. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing stayed behind, which meant that they were only targeting the Sect of all times. All right. The two abandoned brothers looked at each other and stood in the wind, confused. This is... Jun Changxiao, who was still showing off a moment ago, looked at the empty space around him and frowned. Where is this place? The realm of the soul. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded in his ears. Senior Qishuan. Jun Changshao was ecstatic. This voice and tone were exactly the same as the one he heard on the screen. Jun Patriarch. The deep voice sounded again. Although you and I are not from the same era, it seems that we are fated. Yes. Jun Changshao smiled. We are fated. The heaven-devouring evil lord was formed from the evil thoughts of all living beings. Although I have eradicated it, as long as the evil thoughts of the world still exist, they will be inherited by others one day and continue to wreak havoc on the world. A deep voice sounded. Therefore, before stepping into the land of eternal life, I left behind an opportunity in the abyss of despair, waiting for you to inherit it. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. Actually, he came here because of the 7 remnant scrolls. He had always believed that the treasure was left behind by the 7 profound sage, and now it was finally confirmed. Sigh. He was indeed very bored in his previous life. The system roared, "Can you stop dreaming?" The heaven-devouring evil lord has an evil secret manual called the heaven-devouring demon transformation technique. If it is comprehended by others, it will be a disaster that will destroy the universe. Someone has already comprehended it. Is that so? The 7 profound sage pondered for a moment and said, it has already developed to an irreversible stage. Can the opportunity left behind by Senior resolve the disaster? Yes. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. However, the 7 profound sage said slowly, the price is very high. What price? Sacrifice yourself and perish together with the evil demons that harm the world. This sentence was very serious, and it was not a joke at all. Jun Changshao frowned. Actually, with Jun Patriarch's heaven-defying luck, it shouldn't be a problem for him to step into the land of eternal life. The choice is in your hands. Is there no other way? That's all. If I choose to stay out of this, will I be sent out of the abyss of despair? Jun Changshao asked. This opportunity is prepared for those who are willing to sacrifice themselves. If you don't have the resolve to sacrifice yourself, you will naturally be sent out. Jun Changshao's lips curled into a bitter smile. The legendary mission required him to lead the sect to find the treasure. If he chose to stay out of it, he would be sent out. That would be equivalent to failing the mission. This was just too fucked up. Make your choice. While Jun Changshao was conflicted over whether he should sacrifice himself for the greater good or stay out of harm's way, the disciples of the sect of all times who had been sent to different regions were also making their own choices. As for what choice they would make, they would keep it a secret and reveal it when they remembered it in the future. If they couldn't remember, then so be it. What's going on? In the outside world, Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were still in a state of confusion. Jun Patriarch and so many disciples of the sect of all times had suddenly disappeared, leaving them behind. Wasn't this unfair treatment? Swish. Swish. While they were feeling depressed, the space trembled again. Gu Zhaoxi, Ryu Sinan, and the other higher-ups, as well as Lu Qianxian and the other disciples, appeared out of thin air one after another. Son. Gu Tianqing hurriedly asked, what's going on? Gu Zhaoxi scratched his head and said blankly, I'm not sure either. I just entered a space in a daze and then came out in a daze. No danger. No. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were speechless. Su Xiaoma looked left and right and said, where's the patriarch? Jian Guishu said, he disappeared with you guys. Swish. Suddenly, Jun Changshao appeared from the void, took out the star field map, and said, let's go. The disciples followed. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing looked at each other in dismay. After Jun Patriarch and these high-level disciples went in and came out, why did they feel a little different? As for what exactly was different, the two of them couldn't pinpoint it, so they could only hurriedly follow. On the way, They tried to ask Jun Changshao what he had discovered, but the answer they received was that he didn't discover anything. Indeed, he didn't discover anything. He just went in and came out very quickly. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were old foxes, and muttered in their hearts, something must have happened. Jun Changshao followed the map and continued to advance towards the auspicious land. Because they were surrounded by the land of great danger, they were destined to experience endless slaughter before they could finally reach the destination. And this, it was too much of a test of the overall strength and cooperation of the entire sect. They had the strength and cooperation, so although they encountered many obstacles along the way, they were all scared but not in danger. Sometimes, they didn't even have to be scared, and they swept through everything in a crushing manner. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were speechless again. Countless martial artists died here, and it was extremely despairing, so it was named the Abyss of Despair. Now that the Sect of all times was here, it could totally be changed to Abyss of Despair, Abyss of Incomparable Despair. Of course, the closer they were to the auspicious land, the more difficult it was. Especially at the last land of great danger, Jun Changshao personally led the entire sect, and at the price of tens of thousands of words, they barely defeated the thousands of prophecy-level ancient beasts guarding this place. Huff huff. All the disciples stood in the void, bent over, and held their knees. They were sweating profusely and panting, and from their slightly pale faces, they must have exhausted a lot of energy. The one who suffered the most was Xiao Zui. The mecha that was activated by the special effects of the text was already riddled with holes and broken. Senior brother Xiao, thank you. Many disciples panted slightly and looked at him with gratitude. These ordinary inner and outer sect disciples' overall strength was definitely not enough in front of a prophecy-level expert, and the final victory was all because of Xiao Ziji's considerate protection. The title of number 1 tank in the sect of all times was definitely deserved. This is what I should do. Xiao Ziji had exhausted too much energy, so after saying this, he was a little shaky. Jun Changshao said, rest here. Swoosh. The upper echelons and disciples sat cross-legged in the void, circulating various mental cultivation techniques to recover their energy and adjust their weakened state. After about 2 hours, everyone's condition gradually recovered. Let's go. Jun Changshao led them forward. Because there was no longer any land of great danger blocking them, their journey was smooth, and they finally stepped into the land of auspiciousness marked on the star zone map. This place was not desolate, and it was full of vitality. So comfortable. Su Xiaomua and Li Fei squinted their eyes, and their meridians and flesh that were sore from the battle were gradually recovering. Jun Changshao did not experience the feeling of floating too much, and he released his spiritual senses without restraint to search for treasures in the land of auspiciousness. Patriarch. Li Qingyang pointed and said in surprise, what's that? Jun Changshao hurriedly looked over and saw that in the seemingly endless area ahead, there was a piece of floating land, and on it was a towering tree with luxuriant branches and leaves. It was surrounded by a luster that represented vitality, and it emitted a sacred aura. What's that? Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing also noticed it, but from their expressions, they clearly did not know what it was. None of them knew, except for Hiwudi. Especially when he saw the tree full of vitality, his facial muscles instantly stiffened, and he said in disbelief, the tree of universe's origin. Ka. At this moment, the space behind the towering tree gradually distorted and formed a rainbow-colored path, and at the end of the path, a huge stone door slowly appeared, with complex words carved on it, mysterious and sacred. The Road of Eternal Life. Chapter 1980. It was another huge stone door. This was the third time Jun Changshao had seen it. The interval in between was not long, and the frequency was even a bit frequent. The door was not the main point. The tree was. The tree of origin that Hiwudi had just shouted about. A plane had an origin. According to the literal meaning, could the tree represent the origin of the universe? He guessed right. A plane was born from the origin. The origin of the universe was related to this vibrant towering tree. In short, there was this tree first, and then there was the entire universe, as well as the countless planes that were slowly born over time. How is this possible? Woody was even more shocked. As far as he knew, the tree that represented the origin of the universe was almost impossible for ordinary people to see. Now, it had appeared in the abyss of despair and was witnessed by so many fellow sect members. It was unbelievable. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, let's go. Jian Guishu said warily, will it be dangerous? Although he said so, his legs had already stepped over. The sacred luster released by the towering tree made everyone present feel as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. They even had the thought of approaching it. Swish! Swish! Jun Changshao took the lead and flew over, and the disciples followed closely behind. Sure enough, the closer they were to the tree of origin, the stronger the comfortable feeling became. Many disciples gradually entered a wonderful illusion. Their souls seemed to have merged into a sea of martial arts, crazily absorbing the knowledge inside to make up for their shortcomings. Whoosh! 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 As they approached, many disciples entered the truth-seeking realm from the core transformation realm, or from the lower to the middle, or from the middle to the upper. It was not only the low-level martial artists who benefited, but also the high-level martial artists, such as Jun Changshao. The closer he got to the tree of origin, the more he comprehended a certain meaning, and his heart was suddenly enlightened. Could this be the treasure left behind by Senior Qishuan? Stomp! After a while, Jun Changshao landed on the ground where the towering tree was planted. The soil was very soft and comfortable to step on. The upper echelons and disciples of the sect of all times followed behind. They stood where they were and closed their eyes to sense the profound martial arts in the air. After an unknown period of time, Jun Changshao came back to his senses and looked at the towering tree in front of him. After pondering for a while, he said, if it is transplanted to the eternal world, all the creatures will benefit from it, right? Woody's expression was wonderful. As expected of the patriarch, his way of thinking was simply too exaggerated. Hoo! The aura that contained the profound meaning of the martial way blew over continuously, and the disciples' breakthroughs became even faster. Jun Changshao had experienced a sudden improvement before, so it was not a big surprise. What he really cared about was how to bring the tree into the eternal world. To put it bluntly, he had taken a liking to her and wanted to take her away. The aura that Zhang Xian released harnessed the profound mysteries of the martial path. Since Zhang Xian had encountered Zhang Xian today, Zhang Xian was bound to have his own thoughts. Furthermore, it was a waste to leave it here. Since it was the origin of the universe, it should do proper things and benefit all things. Compared with Jun Changshao's exaggerated idea, Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were more normal. After landing, they went straight to the stone gate. The tree of origin of the universe released a majestic profound meaning of the martial way, but for experts at their level, the benefits were not particularly great, so they were more concerned about the secret of immortality. Standing in front of the gate, they put their hands on it and tried to push it open, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not move it an inch. Don't waste your energy. Woody said, you won't be able to open the gate. Why? Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing asked. Woody looked up at the towering tree with luxuriant foliage and said, if I'm not wrong, the stone gate is related to the tree of origin. If you want to open it, you must get its approval. How can you get its approval? Jun Changshao came over. This disciple doesn't know. Woody could only guess one or two things. In his opinion, the tree and stone gate should have been deliberately left behind by Senior Qishuan so that the younger generation would have a chance to enter the land of immortality. Jun Changshao walked towards the tree of origin. The other party was not hostile, nor did he set up any defenses, allowing him to easily stop in front of the thick trunk. At a close distance, the profound meaning of the martial way was even stronger. Pa! Raising his hand and placing it on the tree, Jun Changshao said in a low voice, "The entire upper universe is in danger. Can you just watch as countless planes and holy spirits become food?" Buzz buzz. The branches swayed, as if answering. Jun Changshao was overjoyed and said, "Since you are the origin of the universe, you are also the mother of all living beings. Now that your child is in trouble, how can you sit back and do nothing?" Hua! The leaves also began to sway violently. Obviously, the tree of origin of the universe was intelligent and could hear every word Jun Changshao said. "That's easy to handle. Me. Jun Changshao." Goshing said solemnly, "Although I am an ordinary person, I also know that the rise and fall of the universe is a responsibility of every man. Therefore, I am not afraid of death and will fight evil to the end." Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were silent. If Jun Patriarch was ordinary, there would be no one in the entire upper universe. As for fighting evil to the end, the two of them agreed. If it weren't for him and the sect of all times, the situation in the upper universe would be even worse. In fact, Jun Changxiao's performance was very good. 8 of the demonic emperor's right-hand men had been killed by him long ago, and most of the soldiers were also dead. If it weren't for the other party comprehending the devouring heaven-transforming demon great technique, the situation would have been great for the entire universe. But now, the planes were being devoured one by one, which would only strengthen the demons. A reader had once asked, why not let Jun Changxiao fuse the major planes and then condense a super-large eternal world, so that the demonic emperor couldn't devour it? Naive. Childish. Not to mention that the fusion required a lot of time, just the speed at which the demonic emperor devoured the planes was extremely fast. More importantly, the other party would continue to grow. If Jun Changxiao really wanted to fuse the planes, it was nothing more than saving the other party the trouble of running back and forth. He could just come over and eat the ready-made food. In short, the demonic emperor was extremely dangerous now. Jun Changxiao could only pin his hopes on the treasure left behind by the 7 profound holy master while he was devouring the planes. Fortunately, he found it. Especially when he found this towering tree that represented the origin of the universe. If you still care about the entire universe and the thousands of living beings, please integrate into my world and help me fight that demon to the death. Jun Changxiao said solemnly. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing secretly said, how can you get his approval just by saying it casually? Okay. I'll help you. Suddenly, an old voice came from the tree. Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing, who were just complaining in their hearts, were a little dumbfounded when they heard this. Then, they saw the towering tree that originally stood in front of them turn into a flowing light and merge into Jun Changxiao's glabella. Too sudden. Too incredible. Before the two of them came to their senses, the huge stone gate behind them disappeared out of thin air. It's gone. Woody stared at the patriarch and couldn't calm down. Did he really enter the eternal world? Whoosh! Whoosh! There was no time for him to think about it, because an extremely majestic promotion momentum suddenly emerged in his body, and the thought of entering a higher realm instantly occupied the high ground of his sea of consciousness. I'm going to break through. Woody was really dumbfounded now. He knew his own martial arts very well. Before he got an absolute opportunity, it was impossible for him to break through easily, but now he was really going to pry into the mystery of heaven. He was not the only one. Li Qingyang, Su Xiaomua, Li Fei, and other core disciples also had a promotion airwave in their bodies. After it crazily spread out, it formed a huge scene. The inner and outer disciples who just broke through on the spot also benefited and were entering a higher realm. In this environment of collective promotion, Jian Guishu and Gu Tianqing were a little out of place, because the two brothers did not gain anything at all. The difference in treatment was especially obvious. Whoosh! Whoosh! The promotion momentum was higher and higher, and it filled the auspicious place. Not long after, Li Qingyang entered Tianji. Su Xiaomao entered Tianji. Li Fei, Tian Qi, and other core disciples entered Tianji. Quasi-core disciples like Li Tian and Ling Yuanxue entered the half-step Tianji, and they really advanced to another level. There were also higher-ups. They also benefited. Gu Zhaoxi, Ryu Sinan, Gong Sun Ho, Bailey Qianqiu, Black and White Rakshasa, Ding Xingwang, Jiang Ye, and others entered Tianji. The whole process was simple and violent, and even unreasonable. Ah ah! The Purple King raised its head and roared. As a beast, it and the members of the Spirit Beast Hall did not directly increase their realm, but its body and meridians seemed to have been tempered by some kind of power, and it was slowly undergoing a qualitative change. Although it was a little painful, it was more pleasurable. So, bang! The Purple King could not control its emotions and directly blew up its school uniform, exposing its skin. It was obvious that it was transforming. After a while, he and the members had all finished evolving, and they all roared like beasts. The Purple King was the happiest until it saw Yuan Gongzi holding a pen, and it stopped abruptly. It then hugged its head and cried in grief, "Deputy Patriarch, listen to me. I don't want to listen, bastard." Why was there such a terrifying collective promotion in the sect of all times? The reason was simple. When Jun Changshao gained the recognition of the Tree of Universe's origin, when it appeared out of thin air in the eternal world, a beautiful notification sounded in his ears. Ding! Legendary mission completed. Chapter 1981. Eternal World. The land that carried the tree of origin of the universe appeared out of thin air in the sky, as if it was a god. What's that? The warriors who lived here saw it and opened their eyes wide. At this moment, they found that behind the towering tree, the space was gradually distorted to form a path, and at the end, there was an even more sacred stone door. Okay. The tree of origin and the path of eternal life were both in. I don't know what Jun Changshao has done to be recognized so easily. Especially the legendary task. After careful calculation, the whole sect only fought a few ghosts after entering the dungeon, and the rest were basically skipped, and then easily completed. Compared to the time limit and many harsh requirements of the side or epic task, this legendary task was simply too easy. It was even a giveaway question. Not to mention the simplicity of the task, the rewards were also very rich. All the disciples who participated in the Despair Abyss improved by a big realm. The high-level, core, and even quasi-core disciples broke through to the Divine Mystery realm, and there were as many as 50 of them. In the past, there were only a few disciples who peeked into the Divine Mystery. Now, there were so many disciples, and their strength had improved tremendously. It had to be said. In terms of cheating, the sect of all times had always been rough. Of course. It wasn't just the high-level and disciples who improved. After Jun Changshao heard that the legendary task was completed, the energy in his dantian also changed substantially, and his realm reached the top level. Whoosh whoosh. After the breakthrough, he stood in the eternal world and felt that his body was full of stronger martial Tao mysteries, and said, "I've become stronger again." He was very calm about the improvement of his realm. With the host's current strength, if you meet the red-haired man who was killed before, you should be able to easily defeat him without any help, the system speculated. Can I fight with the celestial demonic emperor? The system was silent for a moment, and said, "That's hard to say." Now that the celestial demonic emperor had comprehended the devouring sky and transforming demon technique, and was crazily devouring dimensions, its strength must be gradually increasing. It was not optimistic that the host could win. Even if I can't fight, I have to fight. Jun Changshao said, otherwise, the entire upper universe will be doomed. Sigh. The system sighed, the host is righteous. Swish. Jun Changshao flew over and landed in front of the huge stone door. He placed his right hand on it and asked, "Can I open it with my current strength?" He couldn't open it. No matter how he moved, there was no reaction. Why did Senior Qishuan place these two items in the abyss of despair? Jun Changshao fell into deep thought. The system replied, "From what I can see, he must have predicted that the Tianma Emperor would wreak havoc on the world, so he left the origin tree of the universe and the gate of eternal life here, waiting for the host's protection. That makes sense." Jun Changshao agreed with this conjecture. After all, for now, the celestial demonic emperor would keep devouring planes. If he found the tree of origin, it would be tantamount to announcing the death of the universe. In that case, it was easy to understand why he was easily recognized. Everything. This was all set up by Senior Qishuan in advance, and the legendary mission was given for free. Since the tree and the door have come to the eternal world, I have the obligation to protect them, Jun Changshao said firmly. Swish. Flying to the Sect of all times, he waved his hand and placed the tree of origin hanging in the sky deep in the Iron Bone Mountain. When the tree moved, the door moved too. It could be seen that the two were connected. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh. After the tree of origin was completely integrated with the earth of the eternal world, the swaying branches and leaves began to release the aura of higher martial arts mystery. Just as I expected. Jun Changshao said with relief, "They can benefit from coming to my world." This was a huge benefit. Because in just a few days, the whole eternal world was filled with more profound martial arts Upanishads, and countless creatures could feel it. At that moment, the scene of the realm improvement could be seen everywhere. The origin of the several planes of the eternal world was also strengthened and began to release more majestic heaven and earth attributes. It was no exaggeration to say that after the tree of origin came in, this huge plane was undergoing an all-round sublimation, slowly moving towards prosperity in strength. No one could accurately predict what level it would reach in the end. Sect of all times. The disciples sat cross-legged on each mountain, crazily absorbing the martial arts mystery. Similar scenes could be seen everywhere in the world. When the tree of origin was transplanted to the eternal world, this kind of situation was destined to continue for a while, and it was destined to take the creatures slowly familiarizing themselves with it, and eventually reach the point where they would not be surprised and become accustomed to it. Infinite Method's Secret Realm. Jun Changshao sat in the study, opened the system store, and said, "You can buy it now." The legendary task not only improved the strength of the whole sect, but also rewarded him with 50,000 reputation points, which was just enough to buy the super secret realm that had been stored in the shopping column. Were there other rewards? For example, martial skills, divine powers, equipment, and treasures? No. It only improved the strength of the whole sect and gave him a little reputation points. Jun Changshao once despised it in his heart. It was a legendary task after all, and the reward after completion was a little too little. Be content. The system said, the whole sect will be improved by a big realm, and the higher-ups and disciples who are stuck at the half-step will break through to the divine secrets realm without an opportunity, which is a great reward. That's true. Jun Changshao said, I was a little greedy. Gu Zhaoxi, Ryu Sinan, and the others had already reached the half-step divine secrets realm. If they wanted to go to the next level, cultivation alone was not enough. They also needed to find opportunities, such as Yi Xingqian who understood the mystery of infinite reincarnation, or Yi Xingqian who sacrificed himself for righteousness. What was certain was that, without special requirements, it was as difficult as ascending to heaven to break through to the divine secrets realm. Now that the legendary task alone had helped so many people break through, it was a great opportunity. Ding! The host has spent 20,000 reputation points and obtained the super secret realm of Infinite Methods X1, which has been transferred to the space ring. Ding! Sect reputation points, 32,000. Gou Sheng smiled. It was rare that he still had 30,000 reputation points. If it was before, as long as he bought something, he would become a pauper. Whoosh! His spiritual thoughts entered the space ring, and he skillfully picked up the manual to study it. The Infinite Method's secret realm, as the name suggested, was a secret realm that contained many martial arts and mystical abilities. Any member of the sect of all times, regardless of position or status, could enter at will and choose any martial arts that they liked. Fuck. Jun Changshao closed the manual and said, "This thing came a little late." Throughout the development of the sect of all times, there was the alchemy pavilion, the forging pavilion, and many other facilities with different functions. The only thing missing was this. Of course. The martial arts pavilion also had it. However, most of them were plundered from other places and were built by Jun Changshao himself. Martial arts such as the Heaven Crossing palm print were just rewards from completing missions. The Infinite Method's secret realm contained all kinds of martial arts and mystical abilities, which were easily accessible to him and his disciples. The situation and nature were different. Back Mountain. Jun Changshao walked over as usual and set up the Infinite Method's secret realm. The disciples who were preparing to go to the training tower and other facilities to cultivate saw this and swarmed over. There was no need to ask. The patriarch must have taken out something heaven-defying again. Chapter 1982. The 10,000 Arts secret realm was not big, just like a small cave. The surrounding walls were carved into grids, and there were many books stacked inside. That's right. They were all martial arts and supernatural powers. Jun Changshao walked in, and the first thing he saw was 8 words engraved on the wall at the end: thousands of Tao techniques, all within. It meant that there were thousands of martial arts in the secret realm. Did it have to be so exaggerated? Jun Changshao's consciousness spread out, and after a rough calculation, he realized that there were indeed thousands of books stored in the small cave, so he exclaimed, "Unbelievable." To be exact. This secret realm was more like a professional library. Super grade. It was also newly bought. Gou Sheng was sure that the books that could be placed inside were definitely at the level of destroying heaven and earth. Swish. He casually took out a book from the grids, and saw the words, "Colossal Collapse Tao Technique," written on it, exuding a vigorous and fierce aura. Seeing the words was like seeing the person. The strength of the martial artist who wrote these 4 words must be extraordinary. Jun Changshao immediately opened the first page, and after carefully reading the records, he was shocked. This was an extremely domineering Tao technique. If cultivated to the extreme, not only could it shatter the void, but it could also shatter the entire universe. That's impossible, right? Jun Changshao had a trace of doubt. With his current top-level divine secret realm level, destroying a plane was a piece of cake, but to shake the entire universe, it was a bit unrealistic. Putting down the colossal collapse Tao technique, Jun Changshao picked up a book called Heaven-Shattering Tao Technique. The introduction was still quite powerful, and those who mastered it could shatter the 9 heavens with one palm. Alright. They were all very ferocious. Jun Changshao continued to read other books, such as the Tao of Stars and the Tao of Realmless. Although their names were different, their effects were similar. They were either capable of destroying the heavens and earth or destroying the universe. They were terrifying to the extreme. If I can master all of them, Gou Sheng shook his head and said, "Wouldn't I be invincible?" The system poured cold water on him in a timely manner. "I'm afraid that with the host's comprehension, he might not be able to comprehend one for the rest of his life." Fuck. Jun Changshao said, "Am I that bad in your eyes?" "Frankly speaking," the system said, "without my help, the host is trash." His words were very sharp. Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, "Am I proud?" The system was instantly defeated by his words and sighed with emotion. Shameless people were indeed invincible. Alright. Jun Changxiao's temper flared as he said, "You think I can't do it? I'll show you how I cultivate." With that said, he kept the prodigious collapse Dao art into his spatial ring. "If you have the ability, take a few more books and cultivate them together," the system mocked. Tisk, Jun Changxiao curled his lips and said, "Don't bite off more than you can chew. I understand this principle." He wasn't greedy and chose one. There were no restrictions on the secret realm, and one could enter and exit as they pleased. In fact, there was no need for him to take a few more books out. Schwa! He strode out of the 10,000 arts secret realm. "All of you." After coming out, Jun Changxiao looked at the expectant disciples and said, "You can go in and experience it now." Yes. Everyone excitedly entered the 10,000 arts secret realm. When they saw that the grids on the surrounding walls were filled with stacked martial arts secret manuals, they exclaimed in unison, "So many martial arts techniques. What are you waiting for?" Su Xiaomao raised her voice and said, "Hurry up and choose." Schwa schwa. Everyone immediately took action. The disciples didn't choose casually. Instead, they stood in front of each stone wall and carefully read to choose the one suitable for them. For example, Li Qingyang, because he had a thunder physique and a thunder spiritual seed, he was more inclined toward the thunder Dao art. According to the introduction, after cultivating it to a certain level, he could summon thousands of lightning bolts and destroy everything in the world. Just as everyone was seriously choosing a Dao art suitable for themselves, no one noticed He Wudi, who was standing in front of the wall in a daze. This guy was completely dumbfounded. Even his hands were trembling violently. "Impossible." After a while, He Wudi came back to his senses and said in disbelief, "Impossible. Impossible." He came from the land of eternal life and had cultivated many high-level martial arts. In particular, he knew that in that world, there were many unfathomable magical powers. In order to distinguish them from ordinary ones, they were defined as Dao arts. That's right. This Dao art was the one written in the book. He Wudi was lucky enough to obtain a book called the Body Rotation Dao Art. After cultivating for many years, he barely comprehended the surface. Later, because the remnant book disappeared, he was hunted down by various experts. In desperation, he was forced to escape from the land of eternal life. In the end, he was able to safely land on the falling star continent because of this Dao art. People from the land of eternal life couldn't and weren't allowed to descend because it would destroy the balance of heaven and earth. Under normal circumstances, He Wudi would have to bear the punishment of heaven if he forced himself to descend. Especially when passing through the barrier, the friction and pressure would cause his cultivation to drop until his body and soul disintegrated. In short, any martial artist who came down would have to go through a certain death situation. And because He Wudi cultivated the body rotation Dao art, he successfully landed on the falling star continent. Although his level dropped to 0, he managed to preserve his body and soul. Every time he recalled the scene from that time, he would always break out in cold sweat from shock, and he rejoiced that he'd obtained this Dao art through his years of hard work and karmic luck. Otherwise, he'd have been buried a long time ago. Why did it have to be described as years of hard work and luck? Because Dao arts were unique to the land of eternal life. Without a strong background and identity, there was almost no way to obtain them. He Wudi had no power or influence. He lived like a transparent body. Even when he reached the level of a saint, he only had one. It was obvious. How precious. And now, there were thousands of Dao arts in front of him. No wonder He Wudi was shocked. If it was a martial artist from the land of eternal life who didn't have much contact with the sect of all times, their eyes would have popped out. Junior brother Li Qingyang walked over and nudged him with his shoulder, saying, "Don't be in a daze. Hurry up and choose one." Oh. He Wudi quickly regained his senses. He suppressed the joy in his heart and began to choose a dazzling Dao art. He lamented in his heart, if the heavens give me another chance, I will still choose to descend forcefully just to enter the sect of all times and become their last disciple. I'll choose this one. In the distance, Li Fei chose a Tao art. From his expression and words, he seemed to be conflicted about choosing one randomly because there were too many books. Sigh. He Wudi shook his head and thought, I don't know how lucky I am. The disciples of the sect hadn't lived in the land of eternal life before. Even if they knew that the Tao arts in the secret realm were extraordinary, they didn't think too much about it. He was different. He deeply understood that if he grasped a Tao art, he could establish himself in the world. In the past, it was a luxury to obtain a Tao art. Now, it was everywhere. This made He Wudi excited. He even began to imagine that if he comprehended a few Tao arts and returned to the land of eternal life, wouldn't he be able to establish his own sect? Wouldn't he be able to dominate a region? Come on, let's have fun. Anyway, there's plenty of time. The disciples who were choosing Tao arts suddenly heard the singing and turned to look. They saw junior brother He holding a book in one hand and twisting his body in front of the wall with his hands and feet. His expression and appearance were very annoying. If I continue to write, then the existence of the 10,000 arts secret realm will give Go Sheng and his disciples the capital to do whatever they want in the next map. Chapter 1983. The upper echelons and disciples picked a suitable technique for themselves in the 10,000 methods hidden realm and left happily. Especially He Wudi, he was so excited that he danced on the spot. However, Jun Changshao was still a bit dissatisfied. After all, the sect of all times had more than 100,000 disciples, and it was impossible for everyone to have a technique in the hidden realm. Thinking about it, it made sense. Bah! The system spat on his face, saying, a man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. From He Wudi's point of view, we know that a technique is an extremely high-end divine martial art, it's very precious in the land of eternal life. Here's the problem. Is it easy to cultivate this technique? Jun Changshao sat in the study room and opened the technique, carefully reading the recorded chants until he memorized it all, but the conclusion was that he didn't understand it at all, so he broke down, it's a bit difficult. More than difficult. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. He Wudi, who had experience in this, entered the space-time hidden realm after obtaining a suitable technique for himself, but still couldn't comprehend it for a few days. Regarding this, he expressed his understanding, because it took him nearly 1,000 years to comprehend the surface of the body transformation technique. Give up. The system said, let's just use a cheat. Jun Changshao was so agitated that he immediately arranged the sect's affairs, then entered the space-time hidden realm to comprehend the technique. From the looks of it, he didn't plan to come out until he comprehended something. Li Qingyang and the others saw this and said seriously, Patriarch is serious. Yes. Jun Changshao was serious. To prove that he could comprehend a profound technique without relying on a cheat. But reality was cruel. Under the acceleration of the space-time hidden realm, he studied for almost half a year without any results. The most tragic thing was that he didn't gain anything from the technique, and lost a lot of hair. At this rate, if he continued to study it, he couldn't guarantee that he could comprehend it, but his hair loss would definitely recur. Forget it. Jun Changshao stood up, I still have to think of a way to deal with the Tianma Emperor, how can I waste time on the technique? Bah! The system said, no means no, don't give yourself a way out. Jun Changshao ignored it, left the space-time hidden realm, and went to the drizzle hall to ask about the outside world. It's not optimistic. Li Luoqiu said, according to the information we received, more than 30 planes have disappeared into thin air. Jun Changshao furrowed his brows. It had only been a few months since the disappearance of the first plane until he came out of the abyss of despair. That guy was devouring planes too quickly. Jun Patriarch. Jian Guishu said, we have to do something. We can't just watch the demonic emperor harm the common people. Not bad. Jun Changshao nodded. So, what can be done? Pass down the order. Inform all the major planes to leave as soon as possible. This was all Jun Changshao could do at the moment, and the most he could do was make living beings abandon their homes. There was no other way. With the celestial demonic emperor's speed, if they could not directly stop it, they could only choose to take refuge in advance. AI. Jian Guishu said, I'm afraid that some people won't leave, or won't be able to leave in time. Some people didn't leave because they were attached to their homes, and even chose to live and die with them. Those who couldn't leave in time were because the celestial demonic emperor's speed was too fast. Once a plane was locked on, it was almost impossible to live past the next day. You have to leave even if you don't want to. Jun Changshao said with a serious expression, inform the array hall to activate the projection array. I want to tell them the seriousness of the situation. Yes. Buzz. Buzz. In the major planes of the upper universe, the sky of the major cities trembled, and gradually, a mirror-like array formation boundary was formed. It's here again. Seeing this, everyone's expression collapsed. Previously, they had relied on this array formation boundary to see how the sect of all times beat up the elites of the celestial demonic emperor with their own eyes. Cough cough. After a while, Jun Changxiao's handsome face appeared on the light screen. He's asking for a beating. I really want to kick him. Everyone discussed in private. Everyone. Jun Changxiao gathered his emotions and said with a serious expression, at this moment, the upper universe is experiencing an unprecedented disaster, and if you want to live, you must make the right choice. The martial artists of the various planes didn't deny that there was a disaster. After all, the celestial demonic emperor had been wreaking havoc in the universe for more than a day or two. However, everyone understood, so why should they listen to him? Of course. Jun Changxiao said, you may not agree with what I said, but it's still necessary to say one more thing. The celestial demonic emperor has mastered the evil technique that the heaven-devouring evil lord cultivated back then, and can easily devour major planes. Heaven-devouring evil lord? Everyone's expression changed. It was obvious that they had heard of it. In fact, this wasn't a secret. It had been circulating in the upper universe for a long time. However, it was very difficult to verify more specific things. It was even defined as a legend. This guy is lying to us. Devouring planes, how is that possible? Many warriors questioned Jun Changxiao's words. In other words, if Goshing said that the celestial demonic emperor was wantonly invading all planes, they might believe it, but devouring planes was incredible. Of course. Some people believed it. Because some forces had their own intelligence agencies, they had received news that many planes had disappeared into thin air. At first, they were quite puzzled, but now they immediately understood. I don't care if you believe it or not. Jun Changxiao said again, please pack your bags and leave your planes quickly. All the warriors were speechless. Suddenly, someone jumped out and asked everyone to pack their bags and run away. Who would believe it? Who would do it? Sigh. Jun Changxiao's prestige was still not enough. If it was in the lower universe, one sentence would be enough to convince the world. If you have nowhere to go, you can come to the eternal world, Jun Changxiao said again. The eternal world certainly couldn't accommodate so many creatures, but since he said it, it meant that he would help the upper universe and try his best to save the creatures. Unfortunately, after this sentence was said, many warriors misunderstood and thought that this guy was an alarmist, or even deliberately advertising himself. What are you waiting for? Suddenly, Jun Changxiao raised his voice and shouted, pack up and run away. Let's go. Some forces in the planes realized the seriousness of the problem. They made a prompt decision to pack up their valuables and leave by starry sky battleships. However, they didn't go to the eternal world. Instead, they chose other places. During this period, many organizations that fought against the celestial demonic emperor had formed alliances, so in the face of crisis, they would definitely choose to stay together. All the forces had levels and equipment, so it was easy for them to leave the plains. However, ordinary warriors who couldn't cross the universe were doomed to stay in their homes and wait for death. The most ridiculous thing was, many plains didn't recognize Jun Changshao. They didn't sense the crisis, nor did they plan to escape. They still lived in their homes as usual. Jian Guishu could guess this, so he said, "Jun Patriarch, you've done your best. Whether they live or die, it's up to God," he said helplessly. Senior. Jun Changshao got up and walked out of the hall. With his back to Jian Guishu, he said, "You said it's up to God. What if?" After a pause, he said, "I'm God." Jian Guishu was stunned. "I'm God. I'll control the lives of the creatures." Jian Guishu opened his eyes wide. Jun Patriarch's words were too arrogant. Xinyao. Jun Changshao said, "Deduce the next plane that the celestial demonic emperor may devour." Yes. Shengguan Xinyao immediately came to the starry sky map. After a short analysis, she said, "According to the pattern of disappearing planes, the spirit world may be targeted by the celestial demonic emperor." Spirit world? Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Such an inauspicious name." Whoosh! He turned into a flowing light and flew out of the eternal world. The seniors and disciples watched the patriarch leave, praying in their hearts for his safe return. Jun Changshao didn't say what he was going to do, but they knew that he was going to stop the celestial demonic emperor alone. That's right. Go Sheng was going to find the celestial demonic emperor. Relying on the legendary task to break through to the top level of the divine secret realm, he was still not sure that he could defeat the devil, but he had to try his best to stop him and buy time for those creatures who realized the danger to escape. At that moment, the flowing light that flew out of the eternal world and shuttled through the universe, emitting a great aura. In the past, Jun Changshao didn't wake up early without benefits. Even if he saved the world many times, he had a purpose. This time, he didn't have any distracting thoughts. He just wanted to protect the world. This might be the growth that little Do talked about. Jun Patriarch. Jian Guishu cried, "Righteous." Chapter 1984. Spreading the news of the Sky Devil Emperor devouring the plane, regardless of whether anyone believed it or not, Jun Changshao had to stop the other party to buy time for more living beings. This was a great hero, for the country and the people. Of course. Jun Changshao dared to look for the Sky Devil Emperor because he had reached the peak of the divine secret realm. If it was in the past, he would definitely consider it carefully. With my current strength, if I can't win, I should be able to run. On the way, Go Sheng began to think. He was only going to stop the Sky Devil Emperor from devouring the plane, not to fight to the death. If the situation was bad, he would definitely escape. "I hope I won't be beaten up," the system said. "Milk." Jun Changshao said, "Milk with all your might." The system was speechless. Host must understand that the enemy this time is different from the past. Before you have absolute strength, it's best not to meet him. What if, you can't come back? I've made up my mind. Jun Changshao said with a solemn expression, "I have to meet him." All right. The system said, "Pretend I didn't say anything." What's more? Jun Changshao said, "Don't I have you? If you really can't do it, you can just possess me and fight for me. If host has such an attitude, I advise you to hurry back." The system said. What do you mean? I'm not omnipotent. The system said, in the face of absolute power, you can't change fate. Moreover, the system said again, there are some things that the host needs to face himself, and not rely on external forces, because that would be meaningless. It didn't ridicule, nor did it tease. It was very serious, which was a bit unaccustomed. So, Jun Changshao also became serious, and said, "I'm going to look for the Sky Devil Emperor. All these years, I've been by the host's side, witnessing his rise from obscurity to fame. There have been happiness and tears, hardships and gains. The system said, if there's a chance in the future, I hope we can continue to cooperate." Fuck. Jun Changshao said, "Are you leaving your last words? Why did you have to find the Sky Devil Emperor? Why did you have to throw your life away? Didn't I just leave my last words?" The system roared. Jun Changshao was stunned for a moment before a smile gradually appeared at the corner of his mouth. He could tell that this guy was worried about him. He was just acting a little arrogant. This was just like how little Dodo's venomous tongue would often spit out and even overinterpret things. However, when the day of their reunion arrived, their hearts would be filled with mixed feelings. Everyone had feelings, and it was not shameful. "Don't go," the system said. "Isn't it good to stay low? If I hide now, I'll just wait for the universe to be destroyed." How could Jun Changshao not want to continue living like a coward? However, allowing the Celestial Demon Emperor to continue devouring planes would only lead to a terrifying disaster in the end. Now, regardless of whether he succeeded or not, he had to stop him. At the very least, he had a clear conscience and tried his best. What if he dies? Doesn't matter. Jun Changshao seemed to be indifferent to life and death. The system said, "Good luck." Swish. Jun Changshao accelerated towards the undead world. Even if there was endless darkness ahead, he still moved forward without hesitation. That guy is just an alarmist. How can we abandon our home? In a certain plane, many martial artists recalled what Jun Changshao said in the light screen just now and scoffed at him. They couldn't be blamed for their ignorance, because no one would decisively abandon their home after listening to a few words. Only when the disaster really came would they be enlightened and filled with regret. What a coincidence. The disaster really came. Whoosh whoosh. All of a sudden, a gloomy aura pressed down from the sky. When the creatures living here felt it, all of their scalps exploded, their hands and feet were cold, and their eyes were filled with horror. Swish, the black stream of light passed through the space barrier and landed on a high mountain. After the light dissipated, the Celestial Demon Emperor stood proudly, and the corners of his mouth gradually raised into a devilish smile. In his eyes, everything in this plane would be his food. Swish. The Celestial Demon Emperor squatted down, inserted his hands into the soil, and activated the Devour Demon technique. Evil power seeped out of his 10 fingers and quickly filled the world. Vitality and energy. At that moment, they were slowly controlled. An intoxicated expression gradually appeared on the Celestial Demon Emperor's face. It was wonderful and enjoyable. Who is it? At this moment, the strong masters of the plane discovered him and flew over from all directions. What are you doing? They couldn't understand why this uninvited guest inserted his hands into the soil, but their intuition told them that something bad might happen, so they immediately gathered their strength and blasted it over. Get lost. The Celestial Demon Emperor was expanding the range of the devouring power, so he had no time to pay attention to a group of ants. He just turned his head and said with a hawk-like gaze, "Get lost." Bang! 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 Dozens of martial artists at the peak of the truth-seeking realm who rushed over from all directions didn't even have time to feel fear before they were smashed into a rain of blood on the spot. One word. It contained extremely strong pressure and directly killed them. Terrifying, terrifying. Whoosh whoosh. Deep underground, the devouring power was still spreading, and finally wrapped the plane origin in a vine-like shape. Swish. The Celestial Demon Emperor skillfully contracted his 10 fingers, and endless vitality and energy quickly fused into his body. His strength was increasing bit by bit, and the plane he was in gradually turned from vigorous vitality to withered until it completely disappeared, including the plane, creatures, resources, and everything else. Ha ha ha. The celestial demon emperor stood in the universe and felt that his strength had increased a lot. He let out a proud laugh. During this period of time, he had swallowed many planes of all sizes, and his strength had also improved significantly. If I eat all the planes in the upper universe, I will definitely be invincible in the world, and then it will be easy for me to pry into the mystery of eternal life. Ha ha ha. The Qianling world was eaten. The thousands of creatures who became food with it probably wouldn't regret it, because even if they took Jun Changxiao's word seriously, they wouldn't have time to run away. It could be said that this was an irresistible disaster. Death was inevitable. Sector Lord. In a magnificent hall, a high-level official came to see him in horror. The Qianling world is gone. This plane was very close to the Qianling world, and they had established an alliance, so when it suddenly disappeared, it was immediately caught. Could it be? The dignified Sector Lord stood up and remembered Jun Changxiao's warning on the light screen. He frowned and said, "Is the celestial demon emperor really swallowing planes? Evacuate. Evacuate quickly." This leader had some ideas. Realizing that something was wrong, he immediately prepared to run away. Unfortunately, it took time for the entire world to evacuate, and the celestial demon emperor didn't give them any chance. After only one day, he flew in with a sky full of demonic aura. Are you going to run away? Finding that the creatures of this plane were preparing to escape, the celestial demon emperor raised the corner of his mouth into a disdainful smile, and said, "The target that I set my eyes on must become food." Swish. As usual, he put his hands on the ground. However, just as he was about to release the power of devouring, his eyes suddenly turned cold, and he quickly pulled out a hand and put it in front of him. Boom! The ground exploded, and dust flew. Swish! The celestial demon emperor flew out of the dust that covered the sky and landed on another mountain, his eyes filled with surprise. In his field of vision, in the collapsed mountain, a blurry figure gradually appeared, and finally Jun Changxiao with the Shenyuan divine sword in his hand was revealed. That's right. This was the undead world. Although Shangguan Xinyao's inference was correct, she didn't infer that the neighboring Qianling world would be eaten first. After seeing the appearance of the person who suddenly came, the celestial demon emperor clenched his fists, and the veins on his forehead directly protruded. He said, "Jun Changxiao." 3 words. He shouted with his eyes wide open, gnashed his teeth, and heartbroken. Chapter 1985. Netherworld. Battleships landed near the major cities one after another, and cultivators swarmed in one after another. Clearly, they were fleeing for their lives. But there were too many people, and it was impossible to evacuate them all in the fastest time, so they could only let some of their subjects board the ships first. Sector Lord. One of the higher-ups said in pain, "I'm afraid it's too late, we have to make a choice." The Sector Lord in the sky clenched his fist. He was relatively responsible, and he hoped to let all his subjects leave, so it was difficult for him to accept the so-called choice. There was no other way. At this time, he had to choose whether to take some of them away or stay and wait for death. Sigh. The Sector Lord sighed and said, "Take everyone on board away." Boom. Just as he made a difficult choice, there was a sudden explosion, and the whole ground was shaking slightly. Someone was fighting. This was the first reaction of the Sector Lord and the higher-ups. And when they released their consciousness, they saw a man holding a sword walking out of the collapsed area in the distance. That sharp face and cold eyes, wasn't that the guy in the light screen? Why is he here? The Sector Lord was stunned, until he saw the Sky Devil Emperor standing on the mountain opposite and felt the monstrous demonic energy, and his face was filled with horror. As the Sector Lord, he was already in the divine secret realm, but compared to that demon, his aura alone was enough to kill him. Jun Changshao. The Sky Devil Emperor's eyes were about to split open. Killing his subordinates, destroying his army, and even cutting off his chance to enter the land of eternal life, his hatred for Go Sheng had reached a bone-deep level. Sky Devil Emperor. Jun Changshao walked out and said coldly, "You and I have met for the first time." "That's right. First time meeting." Although the two of them had crossed paths before, one was a clone, and the other was a phantom. Now, the original body was facing the original body, and reality was facing reality for the first time. Hearing Jun Changshao's words, the Sector Lord and the higher-ups of the Netherworld were even more frightened. Sky Demon Emperor. Quick, quick, quick. Evacuate quickly. Just now, he was still in pain about having to give up some of the martial artists and leave first, but now that he knew that the demon standing on the mountain in the distance was the universe's scourge, the Sector Lord of the Netherworld wanted to take his people and run as far as possible. As for those that weren't taken away, they could only resign themselves to fate. Don't blame the Sector Lord for being heartless. In a life-and-death situation, he could only try his best to let a portion of them survive. Otherwise, they would all die. Jun Changshao. The Celestial Devil Emperor's eyes were cold as he said, "Today's meeting will be the day of your death next year." Hoo. As he spoke, his sleeves fluttered without any wind. Cold and powerful demonic energy gathered within them, causing the entire Netherworld to plunge into darkness in an instant. Wait a minute. Just as he was about to make a move, Jun Changshao spoke up. Any last words? Celestial Devil Emperor asked coldly. Fighting on this plane is too much of a hindrance. Why don't you and I fight in the universe? Jun Changshao suggested. Kakik. The Celestial Devil Emperor laughed strangely. Are you trying to buy time for these trash to escape? Since they are trash in your eyes, I'm sure you won't bother to take their lives, right? Jun Changshao asked. Humph, the Celestial Devil Emperor said, of course I won't care about trash. Whoosh, as he spoke, he flew out of the Netherworld first and said coldly, however, this plane will eventually become my food. No one can stop it. Jun Changshao secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Guy would disregard everything and start a massacre here, causing even more lives to be lost in the end. What are you waiting for? Looking at the horrified Netherworld Realm Lord, Jun Changshao said in a low voice, hurry up and take them away. With that, he flew out of the Netherworld. Although his words were a little harsh, the Netherworld Realm Lord was very grateful because he knew that the other party was buying time for him and his people. Let's go. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hundreds of battleships flew out of the Netherworld and left this area as quickly as possible. As for Jun Changshao, he hovered outside the plane. Seeing that they had left, he raised one hand and released a majestic energy that quickly shrouded the Netherworld. Then, he lifted it up easily and threw it out like a ball. Moving it batch by batch was too slow. This was simpler and more violent. The Celestial Devil Emperor didn't take the opportunity to suddenly attack. Instead, he said with interest, your strength has improved. Not as good as you, Jun Changshao said lightly. Previously, when they met in the land of eternal life in the virtual state, the Celestial Devil Emperor gave him an irresistible feeling. Now that he had broken through to the top of the divine secret realm, although the distance between them had shortened a lot and there was no longer that suffocating feeling, there was still a huge pressure. In fact, if the Celestial Devil Emperor hadn't absorbed so many planes, the gap between the two wouldn't be too big. Even if he couldn't win, he could protect himself. But now, it was hard to say. It was because of this that the system advised him to continue to stay low. Jun Changshao didn't stay low because the upper universe was facing a huge disaster and he had to stand up. For example, the Netherworld. If he hadn't arrived in advance and delayed the Celestial Devil Emperor, how could the hundreds of battleships carrying countless lives leave safely? Many people might still be wondering if Go Sheng had accepted some mission and had to stand up forcefully. But the truth? No. This kind of chivalrous mentality didn't come suddenly. It was a choice Jun Changshao made when he entered the abyss of despair and entered a special environment. At that time, 7 profound sage asked him whether he would sacrifice himself for justice or stay low. Now, there was no utility or benefit. Jun Changshao dared to stand up, so he must have chosen the former. Jun Patriarch. After making his choice, 7 profound sages' voice sounded in his ears. The upper universe is in your hands. These few simple words made him feel heavy. However, since he had chosen to sacrifice himself for justice, he could only do his best. This path was chosen by him. Even if it was full of thorns, he had to walk it willingly and without regrets. At that moment, as the shameless protagonist who focused on idiocy, not only did his soul and thoughts sublimate, but he also became, especially Chinibu. Cut the crap. The celestial devil emperor waved his hand and said coldly, die. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, the surrounding space distorted and gradually emerged with pitch-black demonic aura, like a big pot that was fiercely covered. Whoosh! Jun Changshao turned into a stream of light and flew out. However, that big black pot seemed to have a GPS system installed. Seeing him move away, it immediately turned around and chased after him. In the process, the demonic aura became even stronger. Ka! 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 Everywhere it passed, space collapsed. Fortunately, the spirit's world had been thrown out by Jun Changshao. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to withstand the corrosion of the demonic aura and instantly collapse into nothingness. Boom! Suddenly, the big black pot pressed down, and the star field trembled violently. Jun Changshao raised his sword and looked like he was holding up the sky. Although he resisted the suppression of the big pot, as the demonic aura above continued to erupt, his body fell step by step, and his expression became ferocious. The gap is too big. The system said, let's escape quickly. When an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. The celestial devil emperor, who had swallowed dozens of dimensions, had an absolute advantage in overall strength. Jun Changshao gritted his teeth and poured energy into the Shenyuan divine sword, trying to slow down the speed of his fall. He shouted, escape, my ass. Whoosh! 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 All of a sudden, 6 arms appeared on his back and pressed against the black walk. Then, lotus-like flames burst out and engulfed the entire walk like a dumpling. Ha! The celestial devil emperor was stunned. Whoosh! At this moment, a fiery light approached instantly. This speed was very fast. The red-haired man had experienced it before. In the end, he couldn't dodge it and could only stand there foolishly. The celestial devil emperor was different. In a flash, he dodged to the side, gathered demonic aura in his 5 fingers, and blasted it at a tricky angle. Dodge, counterattack. The whole process was as smooth as flowing water. Bam! Not only did the fiery light that suddenly rushed over miss the target, but it was also directly sent flying. When it stabilized in the distance, it revealed Neza, who was holding the fire-tipped spear, stepping on the firestorm wheels, and carrying the universe ring on his shoulder. Boom! At the same time, the big black pot wrapped in flames completely exploded, and Jun Changshao was freed. He stood on the spot with sweat all over his forehead, and his heart collapsed. Too strong. Kid. Neza said indifferently, this demon is a bit tricky. Can you deal with it? No. You can ask the great sage to come out. Hearing this, Jun Changshao almost cried. If the great sage listens to my orders, he won't ask you to come out. Ha! The celestial devil emperor said disdainfully, "No wonder you dare to come to die. You have helpers. What a pity. In this upper universe, I'm already invincible. You're just ants." Neza heard this and raised his fire-tipped spear, wrapped the red armillary sash around the handle, and said coldly, "Just a demon, and yet you're so arrogant. This is intolerable." While the two were talking, Jun Changshao had already hidden far away and cheered loudly, "Third brother, come on, I have faith in you." The system roared, "What happened to sacrificing yourself for justice? You're running faster than a rabbit." Chapter 1986. The black pot condensed by the Sky Devil Emperor was too terrifying. Jun Changshao realized that even if he reached the top level, there was still a big gap between them. What could he do if he couldn't beat him? It was fine. He could call for help. Thus, Neza made a grand entrance. How could an SSS-level heroic soul that existed in the Heavenly Might secret realm be summoned? In fact, Jun Changshao had studied it some time ago. Although he couldn't enter the secret realm, he could use some kind of thought to establish a connection with it, especially those who had fought before. For example, Neza. After dealing with the red-haired man, although he returned to the Heavenly Might secret realm, he had established a connection with Jun Changshao. The latter only needed to communicate with him through soul. "Third brother. Come out and help me." Jun Changshao roared in his heart as he resisted the black pot. Swish! Neza, who seemed to be sleeping in the darkness, suddenly opened his eyes and said impatiently, "My energy hasn't recovered yet. Think of a way to solve it yourself." As a mythical figure, there was no need to talk about his strength. However, he was only a heroic soul that resided in the secret realm and was not a real god. Therefore, every time he appeared, he would consume energy and his recovery speed was extremely slow. Calculating the time, it hadn't been long since he dealt with the red-haired man. Now that he called for help, it must be, "I'm going to die." Jun Changshao roared in his heart. The heroic soul Neza was forced to fly out. Whoosh whoosh. The scorching flames wrapped around the dark demonic aura. Not only did they successfully hold the black pot, but they also completely shattered it. He rushed toward the Sky Devil Emperor, but he was punched back. It was a bit tricky. Unfortunately, he wasn't in a good state. Neza was also quite depressed. Why didn't this guy contact other SSS-level heroic souls? For example, the great sage who was better at fighting. Monkey King had fought, so both sides had established a connection. In fact, the first person Jun Changshao contacted was the great sage. However, after shouting for a long time, he didn't get a reply. In the end, he could only pin his hopes on him. Compared to Monkey King's domineering style, the third prince was more approachable. However, the Sky Devil Emperor didn't take this mythical figure seriously at all. He even said that he was invincible in the upper universe and that everyone was just an ant. Neza was furious. "Back then, when I pulled out dragon tendons and wreaked havoc in the East Sea, you were just a liquid. How dare you act so arrogantly in front of me? Fuck him. Hoo. Neza glared angrily and was instantly enveloped by flames. Against the backdrop of the super combustion BMG, the 3 heads and 6 arms formed gradually appeared as the flames dissipated. Kaka. Scorching heat waves crazily spread out, wantonly roasting the universe space, causing it to gradually scorch, and even collapse. When Jun Changshao saw this, he shouted loudly, "Third brother is mighty. Third brother is great." The system was truly speechless. He had said that he would sacrifice himself for justice, and that he would have no regrets. After realizing that the Sky Devil Emperor was very strong, he decisively asked for a substitute to fight, while he ran to the safe zone to help out. Could he have some shame? Petty tricks. The corners of the celestial demonic emperor's mouth curled up in disdain when he saw the 3 heads and 6 arms form. Swish! At that moment, Hero Soul Neza suddenly pierced through the void with his fire-tipped spear. Due to his strengthened form, his speed was clearly faster than before. However, he was still spied on by the celestial demonic emperor. This time, he was prepared and did not dodge. He directly condensed a powerful demonic aura in his right hand and blasted it forward. Hoo! The earth-shattering power instantly pressed down, forcing Neza to dodge. At the same time, the red armillary sash flew out from the handle of the spear, first avoiding the layers of demonic aura, then entangled the celestial demonic emperor like a snake. Withdraw! Swish swish swish! The red armillary sash flashed and quickly shrank. The celestial demonic emperor sneered disapprovingly. He suddenly clenched his fists, and a powerful force erupted from his body, directly shattering the red armillary sash. The magic treasure was broken, and it backfired on him. Neza instantly took a few steps back before he could stabilize his body. Swish! Swish! The shattered red armillary sash flew back quickly and once again condensed into a complete state and wrapped around his body, but the flickering luster was obviously much dimmer than before. This is not good. Jun Changshao was a little worried. Hoo! At this moment, the celestial demonic emperor pressed over. There were no fancy moves, no gorgeous movements, only the most simple and unadorned punches. Bang 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 bang, in an instant, he had attacked thousands of times. Fortunately, Neza had transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms in advance and was able to face the torrential rain of pear blossoms. However, the celestial demonic emperor had no intention of stopping. He continued to bombard with high-intensity punches. Every punch carried the power of thousands of kilograms, and every punch erupted with gloomy attributes. Gradually, the space in the battle area collapsed and was completely enveloped by the billowing demonic aura. Neza was always in a passive state of defense. He retreated from the west to the east, and from the north to the south. He was completely suppressed. Third brother. Let me help you. Jun Changshao suddenly rushed from behind. The Xianyuan divine sword carried an extremely sharp sword intent. It was impossible to watch the battle. If he seized the opportunity, he would definitely launch a sneak attack. Although it was a little despicable, in Go Shing's opinion, no matter what method was used to deal with a great demon who was a scourge to the world. Get lost. Sensing Jun Changshao coming from behind, the celestial demonic emperor continued to bombard Neza. At the same time, he decisively stretched out his right hand and met the sharp tip of the sword with his palm. Ding! There was a crisp sound, and sparks flew everywhere. Jun Changxiao's expression froze. The sharp Xianyuan divine sword, and the support of his top-level divine secret, stabbed the guy's palm. Why did it feel like stabbing a diamond? There was no time for him to think too much, because after the celestial demonic emperor blocked the attack, a violent wave of air suddenly erupted. Bang! Jun Changxiao was immediately sent flying and landed hundreds of feet away like a broken leaf. Then, unable to suppress the injuries in his body, he spat out blood. This protagonist was too pitiful. Although Go Shing's sneak attack failed, he won an opportunity for Neza. While the celestial demonic emperor was distracted, he seized the opportunity and quickly escaped from the attack range. Then, he stood the fire-tipped spear in the void, quickly put his palms together, and shouted, "Infinite Universe." Whoosh! The universe ring quickly flew into the sky, spinning and expanding until a yin and yang pattern appeared. It flew toward the celestial demonic emperor and successfully trapped him. Buzz buzz. On the ground, a yin and yang pattern suddenly appeared, corresponding to the pattern above. The two patterns spun tacitly, and the universe ring contracted instantly, directly locking the celestial demonic emperor's arms. The latter naturally resisted, but the more he resisted, the tighter the bind became until he could not move at all. From escaping to casting, from activating the artifact to successfully binding the target, the whole process happened in a flash. Phew! Standing in the starry sky, Neza's breathing was slightly rapid. He was not in his best condition to begin with, and after using his trump card, he was almost exhausted. Third brother. Jun Changshao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Did you take him down?" "Yes." "Phew." Dog Leftover heaved a sigh of relief. "Kill this demon while he's restrained," Neza urged. "Okay." Jun Changshao hurriedly raised the Xianyuan divine sword, gathered all the strength in his body at the tip of the sword, and stabbed with murderous intent in his eyes. The world would be at peace with the demon dead. However, just as he was about to reach the celestial demonic emperor, the latter's arms suddenly struggled outward, causing the shrinking universe ring to expand rapidly. Whoosh! He squatted down and successfully escaped. Pa! The celestial demonic emperor grabbed the universe ring with one hand and threw it without hesitation. Whoosh! The artifact pierced through the void, flew into the endless universe, and finally turned into a dazzling starlight. Damn it! Neza's face turned pale. He tried to recall the universe ring, but found that he had lost contact with it. The celestial demonic emperor only broke free for a moment. Coincidentally, Jun Changshao stabbed with the Xianyuan divine sword. Seeing that the other party had regained his freedom, his expression became interesting. Boom! Ouch! Puff, puff, puff. Chapter 1987. He thought that Celestial Devil Emperor was bound and could do whatever he wanted, but he did not expect the other side to break free at the critical moment. In particular, the heaven and earth ring that was thrown out was surrounded by gloomy demonic aura, which cut off the connection with its owner. It could only be thrown far away, like a homeless child. As for Jun Changshao, he was even more unlucky. After Celestial Devil Emperor broke free, he first used his indestructible right palm to slap away the Xianyuan divine sword, and then raised his left fist to greet his face. In less than a second, Go Sheng was hit hundreds of times. Because the speed was too fast, he only heard a bang until the whole person flew out. Puff puff puff. Jun Changshao flew backward while vomiting blood. The scene was very funny. When he stabilized his body with difficulty, his eyes narrowed into a line, and his face was swollen. Gongsun Ruoli might not recognize him. It was said that Go Sheng's face was the part of the body with the highest defense. In fact, he did not encounter absolute strength. In front of Celestial Devil Emperor, he was directly exposed. Alas! His face was broken, and his grandpa was blue. Die! At this moment, Celestial Devil Emperor waved his hand with gloomy demonic aura. He did not intend to target Neza, but kill Jun Changshao first. This was a very wise choice, because once the contractor died, the hero's soul would no longer exist. Damn it! Seeing this, Jun Changshao first raised the Xianyuan divine sword and attacked Celestial Devil Emperor, and then turned back to escape. He did not have the courage to fight head-on. Boom! Boom! Celestial Devil Emperor was quite overbearing. When flying, he easily broke the Celestial Dipper sword chi with both hands. He said coldly, Jun Changshao, I said that this day next year will be your death anniversary. Whoosh! As soon as the voice fell, the red armillary sash flew from behind and entangled him again. Courting death. Celestial Devil Emperor burst out with demonic aura and shattered the red armillary sash. However, at this juncture, the hero's soul Neza rushed over on the wind and fire wheels, and the other four hands on his back grabbed the fire-tipped spear. All the power was gathered here, and the flame behind him seemed to be able to burn the world. The third brother was angry. The third brother tried his best. Ah! Neza, who was going all out, rushed over at top speed. His face gradually turned ferocious as he roared, 5 heavenly demons, death body destruction, urgent as the law orders. Hoo hoo hoo. The tip of the fire-tipped spear instantly condensed a scorching flame, as if it had turned into a roaring fire dragon. It took the lead to press down on the celestial demonic emperor. Its momentum were earth-shattering. This kind of top-level battle was extremely rare in the upper universe. Unfortunately, there was no audience. No. Even if there were an audience, no one would be able to see it. Because the area within 100,000 kilometers of the battlefield had long since been enveloped by dark devil chi and scorching flames, even an expert at Jian Guishu's level was unable to rely on the naked eye and will to capture it. Kaka. The fire dragon roared with great momentum. The heroic soul, Neza, had fused the last of his strength into the fire-tipped spear. He was going all out. Futile struggle. The celestial devil emperor gave up on pursuing Jun Changshao. Instead, he stopped where he was and casually condensed a barrier of monstrous devil chi in front of him, allowing the roaring fire dragon to press forward with its terrifying power. Third brother, seeing this, Jun Changshao's heart was filled with grief. He seemed to have a premonition that something bad was about to happen. Boom! In an instant, the roaring fire dragon slammed into the barrier of devil chi. Although there was a deafening boom, it was unable to break it. There wasn't even a crack. Ga. The firestorm wheels under Neza's feet suddenly stopped. He stood there with his shoulders slumped and his fluttering hair fell listlessly. Third brother. Jun Changshao shouted. Who? Who? Neza lowered his head and breathed rapidly. Then, he slowly raised his head and looked at the dark sky. He whispered, "My time is up." Then, his body turned illusory. Just as he turned into a sky full of starlight, he looked at Jun Changshao and said, "It's not like I didn't expect this outcome. I've tried my best. Good luck." No. Jun Changshao roared in grief. In his heart, he was thinking, what should I do if you leave? Buzz buzz. The heroic soul Neza's body gradually turned illusory and broke into pieces. In the end, it scattered in the starry sky. His Dharma treasure and even the universe ring that flew out were the same. Swish. At the same time, a stream of light similar to a soul rushed over and directly merged with Jun Changshao's glabella, hiding in the depths of his soul. That's right. It was Neza. Because of excessive consumption, he had become a dim heroic soul. He wouldn't die, but it would take a long time to recover. It might take thousands or tens of thousands of years. The SSS-level heroic souls from the Heavenly Might secret realm were not invincible. Their energy was very limited. Without sufficient time to recover, they would fall into a deep sleep after being completely exhausted. It was a pity that the third Prince Neza was summoned by Jun Changshao twice in a row and lost to the celestial demonic emperor in the end. In the hearts of the readers, he was known as, "That's it." He. The celestial demonic emperor turned around and sneered. Who can save you? Jun Changshao clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with anger. Retreat. The system urged. It didn't think that the host could deal with this guy that even the heroic soul Neza couldn't deal with. The most important thing now was to retreat as soon as possible. At least there was a chance of survival. Retreat? How can I? Jun Changshao said in his heart, a strange smile appearing on his face. Could it be? The system was shocked. Jun Changshao. At this time, the celestial demonic emperor decisively rushed over. Monstrous demonic aura erupted from his palms like a group of demons dancing wildly. I'll use your blood to announce the arrival of a new era. Energy, killing intent. Unprecedentedly powerful. Jun Changshao couldn't dodge. Not to mention the celestial demonic emperor's speed, the surrounding demonic aura was already closing in and blocking any escape route. An unsolvable situation, a situation of certain death. Jun Changshao also smelled a strong sense of danger, but he didn't panic. Instead, the smile on his face became even wider. Jun Patriarch. Sacrifice yourself for righteousness, or stay out of harm's way. The words that the seven profound saint once asked once again echoed in his ears, as if asking him to choose again. Jun Changshao closed his eyes and relaxed his body. Then, he communicated with the space ring and took out the main mission level soul bomb. This thing. He had planned to use it to blow up the star spirit world, but it didn't come in handy. Go Sheng was a little disappointed that he didn't see the true meaning of art stemming from explosions. Now. The opportunity had come. The moment he grabbed the soul bomb, Jun Changshao remembered the scene of Gu Zhaoxi brazenly blowing up the starry sky battleship back in the upper realm, and secretly said, "Brother, it's my turn today." The system broke down. This is really sacrificing oneself for righteousness. Hoo. The celestial demonic emperor was still approaching step by step. The surrounding demonic aura seemed to have turned into demons and ghosts, and the besieged Jun Changshao was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, so pitiful, so miserable. Time returned to the special space of the despair abyss. After Jun Changshao made his choice, he asked, "Senior Qishuan, what benefits do I get from sacrificing myself for righteousness?" "The universe is peaceful. That's all. That's all. Can you give me a little discount?" "What discount?" "My death in exchange for the sect of all times to prosper and let them enter the land of eternal life." "You're thinking too much." However, if Jun Patriarch chooses to sacrifice himself for righteousness, successfully eliminate the celestial demonic emperor, and save the upper universe, he will definitely obtain immeasurable merit. Your sect and your disciples will benefit from this, and thus have a higher chance of entering the land of eternal life. That seems to be fine. It turned out that Jun Changshao really didn't wake up early without benefits. The benefit this time was to use his own death in exchange for the chance for the sect to enter the land of eternal life. Die. Hoo. Returning to reality, the celestial demonic emperor's face was ferocious. He had to get rid of Jun Changshao, not only for revenge, but also to get rid of all the obstacles that prevented him from starting a new era. Suddenly, the celestial demonic emperor found that the guy who seemed to be waiting for death suddenly summoned something from his hand, and an expression of facing death and a smile appeared on his face. It was only for an instant. A strong ominous feeling surged into his sea of consciousness. Not good. The celestial demonic emperor's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly turned around to escape, the fear in his eyes especially intense. Good luck. Jun Changshao held up the soul bomb and smiled brightly. Tonight, I'll eat chicken. Please remember this face. Please remember this smile. Because, boom. Chapter 1988. The starry sky of the universe collapsed like a pit. How terrifying was the power to cause such great destruction. However, the strange thing was that the degree of collapse was not caused by the explosion. Instead, it extended irregularly in a certain direction, as if some kind of weapon had swept over. Regarding this, Jun Changshao agreed because he was an eyewitness. Wait a minute. This bastard is still alive. Jun Changshao was not only alive, but also holding a soul bomb in his hand. In this case, the explosion just now. It started after he shouted, "Winner winner, chicken dinner." At that time, Jun Changshao was indeed ready to die together with the celestial demon emperor. But when he was about to press the detonation button, he suddenly heard a cold shout, "Stop." This voice was very familiar. Monkey King. Just when Jun Changshao was ecstatic, the soul sleeping in the depths of his soul sense suddenly opened its eyes. There had to be BGM and various special effects in order to perfectly express the hot-bloodedness of a fierce man descending from the heavens in a time of crisis. The cartoonist wrote it down. The animator also wrote it down. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, the explosive aura emerged from Jun Changxiao's body and quickly formed a lava-like flame in front of him. It first condensed into his body, then the golden chain armor, the purple gold phoenix feather crown, and the lotus silk cloud-walking shoes. Here it comes. Sun Wukong, the great sage equaling heaven in the water curtain cave of Huagua Mountain. At the critical moment when he was about to die, Monkey King suddenly stood in front of him and gave him the safest back. Jun Changxiao ignored the fluttering cloak and was so moved that he was about to cry. The above was the scene that happened before the explosion. Although it was a little complicated to describe, it actually happened in a very short time. If Monkey King did not appear, this book would be over. Here came the question again. Since Jun Changxiao did not press the detonation button, why did the Celestial Demon Emperor run away in fear? Because he really smelled a sense of crisis, and this sense of crisis was very familiar. Run away. Monkey King sneered and immediately raised his hand. Hot flames spewed out and quickly condensed into the Rui Jingu Bang. When the Celestial Demonic Emperor saw this, the fear in his heart grew even stronger. Previously, one of his doppelgangers had been destroyed by this rod. Although it didn't pose any substantial threat to his main body, he still remembered the fear he felt before his doppelgangers were destroyed. To put it bluntly, the destruction of his clone had left a severe trauma in his heart. Thus, he chose to flee, not because he was afraid of the soul bomb. Shwa! Monkey King grabbed the godly sea-steadying needle and stood up. He said coldly, "Take this." There were no flashy moves like Neza's. It was just the simplest move of raising the rod and smashing it down. What was worse was that the rod was constantly growing bigger and wider. The first form of the unstoppable blade, a 40-meter-long blade, allowed the enemy to run 39 meters ahead. Monkey King's Rui Golden Hoop allowed the enemy to run 107,999 li ahead. Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo! The massive iron staff came crashing down. Wherever it passed, space became extremely distorted. This was the irregular mark left behind by the shattered starry skies. The Celestial Demonic Emperor, who was running away in front, was extremely terrified. However, no matter how he tried to escape, he was still trapped by the cudgel, which made him feel more and more desperate and broke down. Boom! In the end, he failed to escape and was hit squarely by the cudgel. Jun Changxiao witnessed the process of the Celestial Demonic Emperor being smashed into nothingness by the Rui Golden Hoop Bang with his own eyes. He was so excited that he almost shouted loudly. "This demon is dead, and the universe is at peace. Winner winner, chicken dinner tonight." Jun Changxiao. While he was excited, an indignant roar came from the shattered void. "Just you wait." Whoosh! Whoosh! Streaks of gray light flew in all directions. Fuck! Jun Changxiao hugged his head and howled, "He's still not dead. Monkey King! Why didn't you stop?" At this point, he slowly closed his mouth. This was because the great sage, Heaven's equal, who was standing in front of him, was holding the Rui Golden Hoop Bang. Although he was still extraordinarily majestic, his body was gradually turning illusory. "Monkey King, kid." The great sage turned his back to him and said arrogantly and impatiently, "This is all I can do for you. If you encounter any strong enemies in the future, you have to rely on yourself." After saying that, he turned into nothingness. Whoosh! The stream of light flew over and merged into Jun Changxiao's forehead. Then, like Neza, it turned into a sleeping heroic soul. Although Monkey King had defeated the Celestial Demonic Emperor, he had also exhausted all his energy. In fact, he didn't want to come out at first, but Jun Changxiao was in danger. If he died, he would be gone too, so he could only stand up for him. In this battle, he had lost 2 SSS-level heroic souls. From this, it could be seen that the Celestial Demonic Emperor was really strong, especially when facing the full force of the great sage's attack. He was actually able to escape alive. Crack! Jun Changshao stood in the starry sky, his fists clenched tightly. He was able to survive because of Neza and Monkey King. Without them, wouldn't he be very useless? The system said, hiring a fighter is also a reflection of strength. The host doesn't have to doubt himself because of this. On some occasions, one could insult and comfort others. This was a true friend. On the contrary, the most tragic thing was to be stabbed in the back. I've clearly broken through to the top level, but in the end, I'm still not worth mentioning in front of others. Jun Changxiao's eyes were filled with pain. I'm really unwilling to accept this. Now is not the time to doubt. The system said, although that demon didn't die after withstanding the Rui Jingu Bang, he must be seriously injured. This is the best opportunity to kill him. That's right. Jun Changxiao threw away his worries and hurriedly chased in the direction where the stream of light disappeared. While he's sick, he must take his life. We're saved. The creatures that had been thrown far away by Jun Changxiao didn't run away at the first moment. Sensing that there were no more energy fluctuations in the outside world, they looked at each other in dismay. Then, a joyful expression appeared on their faces, as if they had survived a disaster. That's right. They were saved. Jun Changxiao successfully stopped the celestial demonic emperor, saved the realm, and saved countless creatures. Jun Patriarch. The Sector Master of the Netherworld said, I can't thank you enough. Sector Master, are we still going to retreat? A subordinate asked. Retreat. Where should we retreat to? The Eternal World. After saving the Netherworld, Jun Changxiao was recognized by the creatures, so they were willing to give up their home and go to a more distant star area. Of course. The news about the rescue of the Netherworld gradually spread to other realms under their deliberate propaganda. Many people began to take Jun Changxiao and the Eternal World seriously. Let's take a gamble. Let's go to the Eternal World. Therefore, when Jun Changxiao was searching for the celestial demonic emperor, many realms and forces set sail for the Eternal World. This migration was considered by historians to be the wisest choice made by countless creatures. They not only began to choose to believe in Jun Changxiao, but also achieved a real sense of self-salvation. Whoosh! In the scorching flame domain, the red-haired man was sitting cross-legged, absorbing the majestic fire attribute to nourish his severely injured body. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. Dark demonic chi gradually emerged. The celestial demonic emperor's extremely battered body condensed. His face was pale, and it seemed that he was seriously injured. The red-haired man was surprised. This guy should have comprehended the evil method left by the sky-devouring evil lord. How could he be injured by others? Could it be that there was someone stronger than him in this world? Damn it! The celestial demonic emperor's eyes were filled with anger. After devouring so many realms, his strength had reached a higher level, but he still could not resist the Thunder Lord's stick. No. He had to continue eating. Who hurt you? The red-haired man asked. It's none of your business. The celestial demonic emperor said, now, I have a task for you. If you complete it, I'll give you freedom. I haven't recovered from my injury. No need to fight. What's the matter? The red-haired man was interested. Find a way to attract Jun Changxiao. Don't let him find this place. The celestial demonic emperor naturally knew that the other party would definitely kill him while he was injured. Although he was confident in his hiding place, what if he was found? Therefore, he had to prepare for a rainy day. Is this called no need to fight? You just need to be responsible for luring him away. The red-haired man was silent for a while, and then said readily, okay. Damn it. In a certain starry sky, Jun Changxiao's spiritual thoughts spread out. After confirming that there was nothing, he said angrily, how can I find that guy? Chapter 1989. The Celestial Devil Emperor was seriously injured and needed to recuperate as soon as possible. He guessed that Jun Changshao would take the opportunity to find him, so he had to find a way to stall for time. All the capable men were gone, and the job of attracting attention was left to the red-haired man. In other words, these two brothers were quite pitiful. One was abused by Neza, and the other by Monkey King. The red-haired man had recovered a lot, and in order to regain his freedom, he decided to help. But the problem was, how to attract him. There was only one way, which was to pretend to be the Celestial Devil Emperor's subordinate and go to a more remote place to do something. The red-haired man was also gambling. He bet that he would not be caught, or it would be very dangerous. He was just wondering who hurt the Celestial Devil Emperor, but the latter asked him to attract Jun Changshao. The answer was self-evident. That guy. He was really powerful. Alas. Thinking that he had been stabbed to death by the flaming teenager, the red-haired man said helplessly, I hope I can win the bet. When it came to gambling, his heart ached. If it were not for this old problem, how could he be controlled by the Celestial Devil Emperor? If he had known this would happen, he would have stayed in that ordinary plane and lived a peaceful life with an ordinary clan. Walking out of the land of flames, the red-haired man's face gradually turned ugly. The moment he was killed by Neza, he realized something and felt more guilty. He felt guilty for abandoning that woman and his son. No. The red-haired man stopped and said, I have to go back and see. He could not guarantee whether he could win the bet, but if he lost, he would die. So he had to go back and see his wife while he was still alive. At least, he could die without regrets. Swish. The red-haired man changed direction and turned into a flowing light to fly away. The place he went to was the upper world. Jun Changshao had not found the Celestial Devil Emperor after searching outside for half a month. He had no choice but to return to the eternal world and decided to mobilize the forces of the sect and the people to turn the place upside down. However, as soon as he came back, he saw many battleships hanging in the starry sky. The news that he saved the spirit world from the Celestial Devil Emperor had already spread, and many planes and forces decided to join him. Of course. With the protection of the Realm Protecting Formation, they had to go through strict review before entering. You're finally enlightened. Jun Changshao shook his head. Patriarch. Just as they were sitting in the hall of the sect, Yuan Gongzi hurried to report, there are too many warriors applying to enter the eternal world. Should we, let them all in? You're not going to review it? No need. What if there are people with bad intentions? Even if you give them 10 guts, they wouldn't dare to cause trouble in my territory. After completing the legendary mission, the strength of the upper echelons and disciples of the sect had increased by a large margin. Jun Changshao was confident that he could face anything. Even the top-class star spirit sector in the upper universe had been destroyed. As long as it was not at the level of the Celestial Devil Emperor, Dog Leftover was not afraid of anything. Yes. Upon receiving the order, Yuan Gongzi temporarily suspended the operation of the Realm Protecting Grand Formation and announced that the various forces waiting outside could enter at will, but the prerequisite was that they had to register. Swish. Swish. The eternal world chose to let them pass, and the battleships of various planes swarmed in. In fact, when they came to the periphery of the eternal world, they were stunned when they saw how big it was. Now that they were inside and felt the stronger nature of heaven and earth, they were even more shocked. Regret. Why didn't they come here earlier? Jun Changshao was very generous. Except for the sect of all times, any area of the eternal world was open to warriors of all planes, so that they could experience and be shocked to their heart's content. Incredible. I'm afraid the level here is far beyond the top planes like the star spiritual world. How did they do it? Everyone was extremely shocked as they browsed the eternal world. June Patriarch. At this moment, the Realm Master of the Spirit World saluted the Sect of all times and said, "Thank you for your help. Thank you very much." There were countless people behind him. If Jun Changshao had not arrived in advance and successfully defeated the Celestial Devil Emperor, they would have become excrement at this moment. As creatures of the universe, we should help each other. Jun Changshao's voice came from the Iron Bone Mountain. "You don't have to thank me." His tone was very solemn and his momentum was very majestic. The style of the Realm Master and the Sect Master was particularly strong. Go Sheng, who was usually cheerful, would naturally be serious on important occasions. June Patriarch. The Realm Master of the Spirit World said, "If you don't mind, we are willing to live in your world and obey your orders." The last few words represented obedience. It was not as simple as living in, but being willing to become a vassal of the eternal world. It was not strange that a plane that should have been destroyed would become a vassal and obey his orders because of Jun Changshao. What's more, the eternal world was still so powerful. "Okay." Jun Changshao said, "There are many open spaces in my world. You can choose at will." The eternal world had expanded several times, but many places were still in a desolate and undeveloped state. Naturally, they were willing to live in other worlds. To put it bluntly, I have a lot of land. You can live anywhere you want. Thank you. The Realm Master of the Spirit World was delighted. At first, he was quite worried that Jun Changshao would look down on his people. He did not expect that he would agree so readily. Jun Patriarch. At this time, a white-haired old man cupped his hands and said, "The Water Department world is also willing to live in your world. The Fire Department world is also willing. The Tussi world is also willing." In an instant, the representatives of the major planes expressed their opinions. The Celestial Devil Emperor was a disaster in the universe, and his home could be devoured at any time. If he had to leave his home, he would definitely be willing to live in a plane with stronger heaven and earth attributes. No problem. Jun Changshao said, "Everyone who comes today can live in the eternal world. Land, generosity." Therefore, all the planes scrambled to choose a suitable plane to live in and began to contact their own families, deciding to move in as soon as possible. But just as everyone was busy choosing a place, Jun Changshao said, "Jun has a presumptuous request." Jun Patriarch, please go ahead. The Realm Master of the Spirit World said. "Since all of you have moved here, the original plane is naturally empty. If we leave it alone, the Heavenly Demon Emperor will surely devour it. What this Jun means is..." Jun Changshao paused for a moment before continuing, "Don't let the goodies flow into the fields of others. Keep the goodies within the family." Everyone was at a loss. The spirit world. Because all the creatures had moved into the eternal world, it was particularly empty. Swish. Jun Changshao landed. Although the level of this plane was not too high, at least it was a complete world. So, the old rules. Jun Changshao went deep underground and began to use both the carrot and the stick to the origin. The so-called "keep the goodies within the family" meant that since the creatures of the spirit world had moved into the eternal world, they were equivalent to a family, and the origin could naturally be taken away. To put it bluntly, they could live in all the major planes. But as a condition, they had to integrate their origins. What was the difference between this and the Celestial Devil Emperor? There was a big difference. First of all, Jun Changshao did not kill innocent people. Instead, he provided a better environment for the original creatures. Second, the Celestial Devil Emperor might come back. If they did not integrate in advance, it was tantamount to leaving food for him. In summary, they had to integrate with the eternal world. Moreover, after integration, their overall strength would increase, and the living environment of the creatures would definitely be better. It was beneficial to himself and the people. Why not? Whoosh whoosh. Not long after, the origin of the spirit world was taken away and successfully integrated with the eternal world. The area was slightly increased. As for the water sector and other planes, they did not escape the fate of integration. In half a month, the eternal world standing in the starry sky had integrated more than 20 planes. Although the levels were not high, the overall area was still larger. The planes expanded, and there was more open space. So Jun Changshao needed more creatures to move in, and then, integrate the original planes of the new arrivals. This formed a virtuous cycle. In the long run, the planes of the upper universe would disappear, and the creatures would have to live in the eternal world. By then, it would be a new era. Patriarch. One day, Li Luoqiu came to report, the upper world sent a message. A mysterious man suddenly appeared. A mysterious man? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.